All right, we're back.
Yo.
Judd'z Budz episode. Oh yeah, there it is. 181. As always, your host Bogsy, joined this time from the start
1 second.
by another good buddy, Mr. Brett Marshall, who has now walked away. Great timing. Let's see when he goes back in. Brett, what up? Brett, how we doing?
I'm doing well. Just my puppy is currently in trying to find every piece of paper she can find accessible to her right now to tear up. So
As
Big
she
guy.
should.
I think I've gotten it all. Hey, do you want to come say hi to the viewers?
Yes.
Come say hi to the viewers. Here's Rue.
Oh yeah.
Rue, say
Rue, how we doing?
hello.
Look at the flames. Look at her rise up from the flames. She is risen.
Should we make you like Elmo?
Yeah, dude, it's the same thing.
All right.
Well, Brett, how we doing? How's your week going? How's your weekend?
Yeah, I mean it's been busy. I don't think they listen to the show, but congrats to my girlfriend's mom and her new husband Jim. They got married on Saturday. So we were celebrating with them. So that's what I did this weekend. It was a great time. Wedding was super fun. Some late nights, so I'm still kind of recovering a little bit and all that. But thankfully, did not have to watch either of those two Wild games.
Yeah.
I guess the Philly one didn't. I guess the Philly one wasn't as bad, but it doesn't look like I missed much. Missing the Washington game.
Yeah, I was at a housewarming party for my coworker and her boyfriend, who they live up the street from me at an unbelievably nice apartment. And basically, it was just me being like, this is how the other half lives. So I just brought like an 18 of Bud Lights while they were all drinking classy stuff. And I'll tell you what, put the whole thing down before 8. And I was seeing about 3 different Wild versus Flyers games, and it was like, it wasn't that bad, but it was so annoying because they just 0 5-on-5 offense. Like,
Yeah,
Foligno tried to get him going early with the fight with Delorier, which wasn't very funny. Like, hey, bud, I'm here. Want to go? And they're like, yep, sure. It's like a very classy start to that fight. But they just had like nothing. But like, at least Tarasenko got off the mark. But other than that, it was just like kind of a painful watch.
Yeah, from the box score watching that I did, it seems like it backs up. Like it didn't like the Wild didn't do much, but it seems like on the flip side, neither did Philadelphia. So it seems like they defended a little bit better, but looking a little bit better tonight.
Also, yeah, I mean, like the first 2 periods of this game, we got 4 minutes left in the third period here against the Rangers. 2-1, 2 5-on-5 goals. Or actually, no, was Yurov's on the power play? No, it wasn't.
Nope, even strength.
No, yeah. Sullivan is losing his mind because he didn't think the puck hit a Ranger stick on the bench, but it did. But I was particularly frustrated during that Flyers game because I'm just so used to watching Jesper Wallstedt be fine, but like also get nothing in there's like absolutely zero support. And I was like, this feels weirdly familiar. And it's like, again, the Flyers as well, where like tonight they're scoring goals, but Jesus Christ. I hate the fucking like the games where it's like they lose in overtime. And it's like both teams literally probably like whoever was the scorekeeper was being generous, giving them like 18 shots on net. And it's just like, oh God, it's just like they're playing in mud, still figuring out the line combos with all these injuries going on. But
yeah, like, I think that part I don't think could be understated right now. Like when you're having new linemen, even the D pairs have been like bouncing back and forth with Brodin coming out and then Bogosian getting hurt. And then now we need more ice time for Buium, or we can't have Buium and, Jiricek on the same pairing. So we got to shuffle things around. Like chemistry matters. And like, I think you've even seen a little bit like Hartman and I almost said Vinestroza, Hartman and Hinestroza, obviously like good childhood friends. And I think their lines looked pretty solid tonight. Like they're definitely feeding off each other a little bit. Hinestroza obviously had the goal called back early in the period, but like that kind of stuff matters. And and I think that's, maybe part of the reason the top line had looked really good is you have Boldy, Rossi, Kaprizov played together all through camp. Boldy and Rossi looked really good in the PK. They've obviously have chemistry going back to their days in Iowa, but you get a new guy like Tarasenko in here and you're trying to fit him in with Ek, and then you have a rotating winger. Like it's hard to get that chemistry going. So, you hope that they can maybe find, I think what they've done tonight has looked a lot better. Obviously you want Rossi back in there, but I think if they can maybe kind of build off this in terms of keeping some lines together, I think that would go a long way.
Yeah, I feel like it's tough too, just given the fact that like the offense, at least that like even strength, has been such a black hole so far, and like combined with the fact that Zuccarello's out, who's like one of the big focal points of your offense, whether it's on the power play or even strength. Like you're trying to figure out what chemistry is going to work, knowing that like he's going to factor back into that top six eventually too. So it's just like, I don't know. They've been trying a bunch of things. I'm just naturally, because it's this podcast, I'm going to be just like hammering home, like let the kids play. Especially early on. Like it was funny. What's the line tonight? Was it Johansson with Yurov and Tarasenko? Is that what the line is? And I think they were just getting like absolutely caved in at even strength as far as like the just like a shot attempts and everything. And naturally a couple minutes ago, Yurov first NHL goal. Really nice play off the face off. Again, like what do you know? They won a face off. And Johansson just flies around the net, dodges one check, and obviously gets the chance up front. Europe buries it. So very exciting.
They're sitting at a 58.5% expected goal share now. So
that must be all third period.
Yeah, it looks that way. But yeah, I mean, actually, all four lines the Wild, except for ironically that Hartman line. Oh no, just kidding. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Nope, they're all above 50. So that's refreshing to see, because I don't think we've had it outside the St. Louis game. I don't think we've had a game like that yet. So yeah, St. Louis game.
Did you see those Rangers first two periods? Did you see what like because like natural stat trick for whatever reason has taken forever to get the expected goals up. But like they finally got it up like halfway through the second period. It was like period one, expected goals was like at 5-on-5. Minnesota was at like 92%, and then it was like 84. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, they're up to it. Looks like first period came out at 1.46 to 0.32, so an 82% expected goal share. And then second period, this is just at 5-on-5. This doesn't include the power play opportunities. Second period was 0.69 to 0.87 in favor of the Rangers, and the Wild, who I think 7 minutes into the period were getting like out attempted 15-0, and I think the Rangers, like they had every single attempt. The Wild have now taken over and have 55% of the scoring chances. So yeah, kind of a tale of two halves of the period here. And there, what are we, a minute?
It was up, and there we go. Empty netter.
Oh, you're way ahead of me. Oh, there it is.
All right, there we go. Everyone, yeah, I messaged. I had no idea that you were jumping in from the start, because I just like have not been paying attention to anything. And I like messaged Mateo and Isha. I was like, yo, should we just like start after the game? And then like no one answered. And then I was like, all right, it starts in a minute. I should probably just jump in here. But I'll tell you what, if they had lost
is that Papa Kirill in attendance?
Oh, is he there? I know that like Yurov has a bunch of people there, because obviously
they were just showing a bunch of looked like a bunch of families, but I don't know if it was just Yurovs or if it was like Tarasenko's or Kaprizov's. I couldn't tell. I looked away at the last second. I don't have rewind capabilities on the FanDuel app, I don't think.
Yeah.
Nope.
But all right.
That's definitely Daddy Kirill. That was definitely Daddy Kirill in attendance.
I have the MSG feed up.
Oh, okay.
So that makes sense. I missed that. But obviously, assuming we don't absolutely collapse here last minute, which I shouldn't actually, I shouldn't put that evil out into the world. But assuming this stays this way, big bounce back win. Obviously, especially like they give up a goal to the Rangers, who had not scored at home, less than a minute into the fucking first period. And it's just like, of course, here we fucking go again. But I'll tell you what, after the Rangers scored, the response, easily the best they've looked at 5-on-5, even like going past like this season, like through several stretches of last season. They were like, I tweeted out a 2-minute clip because I couldn't, like Twitter wouldn't let me tweet out any longer. Up until that Hinostroza disallowed goal, it was an absolute shit kicking. Like some of the forechecks too, like I think they had changed 3 lines at one point after it was just like legitimately 12 minutes of complete and utter domination, like not giving up a single scoring chance against, but like it was a major response or big time positive response after, again, like you could have seen that going completely the other way. Like the Rangers, maybe they finally get a goal at home and then they just start pouring it on. And it's like,
Right.
of course, this is just how it feels like it should go with Minnesota here, just like with our history here. But huge turnaround. But the response was huge. And shout out Jonas Berdine, obviously getting on the score sheet. But I mean, like everyone was noticeable, I thought, especially right after that goal. But big time win, getting back in the win column. Thank God.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like too, the Rangers were in a little bit of a, I think, different situation than the Wild. I think I'm trying to pull up the tweet here from Jay Fresh. Where are the Rangers on this graphic? I thought why can't I see the Rangers? Does he have a different logo for them? Oh, there they are. Hold on. There we go. They were 4th in the league in 5v5 expected goals share. So like they were kind of in the opposite, where the Wild were not only not scoring, they also weren't getting a lot of chances. The Rangers were in this boat of they're getting a lot of chances, they're just not finishing. And I think like we saw a little bit out of them tonight when they were kind of pushing there early in the third to kind of try to tie the game up and maybe take the lead, and then the Wild kind of flipped it back on them. But yeah, I think to your point, like this Wild team pretty much has never been a team that really is successful off the rush. Like when they're playing well, it's because they're able to establish forechecks. Like they don't have a McDavid that's cutting up the ice every night and creating chances off the rush. That's just not how they play. It always comes off the forecheck. And I think to your point, like they're successful when they're able to kind of establish that forecheck. And we saw it a lot. They got the D a lot more involved, kind of turning into that 4 or 5 man forecheck, which I think we've seen that even going back to Evison, kind of just activating those defensemen. And when you can lean into a guy like Zeev Buium too for something like that, like basically giving you that fourth forward, like you see sometimes with a guy like Erik Karlsson or some of, Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, some of those higher end defensive players, being able to bring them in and utilize, kind of that high cycle versus just having to keep it down low. I think that was huge. And they kind of, let off the gas maybe a little bit there at the start of the third period and then managed to find it again. So,
yeah.
Am I frozen?
I was gonna say it's the audio is coming in great, but you've been like your face has just been frozen, which is like making me laugh. Right. Hopefully, I'm not frozen for you, but
I'm gonna refresh, and I think this happened once before, and it worked when I came back in.
Perfect, go for it. While he does that, I mean, we'll monitor the chat here, but I guess right now what I'm wondering is just like, what the hell are we feeling? Like this has been such a weird start to this Wild season. Obviously, the only like thing that actually feels normal is the amount of injuries that have just been like pouring in immediately. But like special teams, at least the first few games, obviously now they haven't scored a power play goal. I think it's 3 games, but the power play, at least on paper, thanks to the ridiculous start, is number 1 in the NHL. I think still for a while that PK was looking good as well. That kind of took a dip a couple games ago. I think was it the Kings game maybe. But like it's just been like a really weird start to the year again, especially with these injuries, knowing that like in a couple months' time the lines are going to look completely different, but they're obviously still trying to figure it out. But I guess Brett, like what is your overall thoughts so far on this team? Like again, it just feels like a weird start. Like I'm like not used to seeing the special teams pop. And like I don't know if that's just what's fucking me up.
It is weird. This is a team I think that historically has really leaned on its blue line when it comes to being successful. And I think everybody top to bottom has struggled on that blue line. We've seen bad games, I think, across the board from everyone. Like there was a time there where I was like willingly admitting that Zach Bogosian had looked like their best defenseman, which was like very painful for me to say out loud. And they just, like we talked about, just having to blend the lines to try to get things to work. I mean, that is the one thing I do give a lot of credit to John Hines. Like he's not afraid to not only change lines between games, but to do things in the middle of games. He's willing to try to make those changes, adapt. Like even if sometimes if the numbers look good, it's like, hey, I'm just going to make this switch, try to get a spark, So he's done that. And I'm hoping, tonight looked a lot better. You look at, a really poor performance in Washington, to tighten things up defensively in Philly. And now tonight you kind of got the offense going. So like, it feels like they're after that humiliating loss that they're trending in the right direction. Helps when you're playing a team that's struggling to score, but in a game like this where you can work on, like to your point, just getting in on the forecheck, feeling what that's like, remembering like, hey, this is our identity, this is how we play. So I'm optimistic they can kind of get right that ship a little bit. Like there seems like there should be some regression. Like they shouldn't be a bottom, even 10 team probably an expected goal share with the talent that they have on this roster. The penalty kill, we talked a little bit about this. I'm wildly informed after the end of the preseason. Just I think system wise, I'm seeing a lot better things than what I saw last year, especially out of Boldy and Rossi. It's very simple, elementary stuff. We talked a lot about, how typically a lot of teams are going to run what's called an umbrella power play. So you got kind of your QB up top, same power play the Wild run. You got guy on either side, and then kind of two guys that'll, kind of move between the middle of the ice or maybe down below the goal line when needed. And the Wild have historically tried to defend that with a box, which just doesn't work because you leave all the passing lanes wide open, and they were constantly getting beat through those seams. And there would be no one technically in front of the net because when you play a box, you're out near more like the hash marks. So this guy in front's getting free tips and screens. And a lot of times, to me, it was the forwards that were just getting lost. But I think like what I saw in the preseason, and it was, maybe not as aggressive as you'd like to see a penalty kill sometimes, but Matt Boldy was just staying right in his spot on the wing, taking away passing lanes. And him and Rossi, I feel like, have done a really good job of carrying that over here in the regular season. I think they've now killed 7 of their last 8. I didn't see the one in Washington because I didn't watch that game, but that was the last time they got scored on, and they were 4 for 5 otherwise in that game. 2 for 2 last night, and I think just the 1 kill, I think, tonight. So, being disciplined, but, you're no longer like every time they take a penalty, you're not going, like, here we go. Oh, shit, here we go again. And I think the encouraging part is, like, not only am I seeing things better from a system perspective, some guys are starting to win a little bit more faceoffs, which was a big issue with their kill last year. They're getting really good at denying entries once they do clear the puck, which can kill more time. And then I think you look ahead, what are we now? Probably about 5 weeks away from Nico Sturm, 4 or 5 weeks back from Nico Sturm, hopefully coming back in this lineup, and he'll be a huge addition to that as well. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from the penalty kill. Like that had to be a thing that really needed to change, and putting some skilled players, doing some different things. It looks good. So we'll see.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the stuff that we've been worried about, like the past couple of years, especially like the fact that we've seen, at least, I mean, even with these mixed results, like what are they now? 3-3-1, I think it is.
Yep.
Is that what it is? Yeah. I mean, again, like with the asterisk, it was like the big injuries that they have. Like again, like Sturm and Zuccarello, just those two by themselves, like it's fucking massive. Now, obviously, Rossi misses his first game in 2 years, 3 years maybe. But like there have been like notable improvements in some of the worst parts of their game the last couple of years, where it is encouraging, where it's like, all right, if they can have, I'm not even going to say get healthy, I'm like have half the amount of injuries that they had like last year, where it's like, once they figure out the combinations, what D pairs they want to go with, what forward lines, and then figure out what the right mix is, which just like Wallstedt and Gustafsson, which again, it's been 2 games, but like Wallstedt just looks different. Like he's reading plays, he's tracking the puck, and like also he has a smile on his face. Like last year was just good God, like it was the poor fucking kid. But I like the fact that they've taken noticeable steps in some of the most concerning areas of their game over the last few years. I think that's the most encouraging thing for me. And I guess now, like when we look at what we've seen, what they've tried so far with these forward lines, at what point do you think, and like I know about this specifically in Boston when it was literally like Marchand, Bergeron, Pastrnak, and then you might get 1 goal every 8 games from anyone else. At what point do you think Hines considers spreading the wealth out? I don't know if he should. I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? Like this is what, like 90% of your offense, whether it's power play or even strength. I don't know if you can afford to take Boldy and Kaprizov. The one thing I did notice on, I think it was their first power play, Boldy and Kaprizov just started playing catch, and I was like, okay, do we have to take the toys away? Like, do we have to do this? Like, there has been a few times where I've been like, we might have to think about spreading out the wealth, but I don't know if they can. Like, I just don't know.
I think had the offense at 5-on-5 been a complete no-show again tonight, I think he would have had to consider it. But I think now that you've seen, I think maybe you found some lines that maybe had a little bit more chemistry, some things that worked. We were talking a little bit before we went live here about Danila Yurov and that, he looked better in an elevated role, like some hiccups along the way. But I got Natural Stat Trick in front of me here, the final tallies for his line. Obviously, they get that first goal against right away in the game. And then he gets his first goal late in the third, end up being the game winner. And their line finished with your point. Natural Stat Trick loading slowly this evening. There we go.
It kills my fucking Wi-Fi, by the way.
Let's see. Oh, and their XG is down again. So.
Oh my god, it's all year.
It was like 51% with like 5 minutes left in the period. So we'll see if that updates. So. But yeah, I thought he looked better. I think, you talk about being elevated in the lineup and seizing an opportunity. Like, I think he definitely did that tonight. Like, you look at his goal, starts with him winning a faceoff, right? Which was a big issue for him in the preseason. Comes out for an offensive zone faceoff, the game tied late. He wins the draw. And, the goal, I think you got to give him credit too. Did he do anything spectacular? No, but where did he go? He went to the front of the net, found a rebound, and got a goal. Like, that's the things that, as a coach for a young player, that you're just going to nonstop praise. Like, hey, that's when they say doing the little things, winning faceoffs, going to the front of the net, finding rebounds. Like, that's the kind of stuff that they're talking about. So I think he did a great job of kind of stepping up to the plate tonight.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I that's like related to how what my thoughts are on Yurov overall are. Like, I think at this point, because this is Minnesota. Like, obviously, Kirill was playing forever in Russia, comes over immediately, like, looks like one of the best players in the league. Brock Faber hits the NHL, is one of the best, just like logging 30 minutes, like 17 times. So everyone like kind of expect guys when they first come over. We just naturally, so many people expect them to be world beaters right away. But like, even when, like, it's been an interesting kind of start here between the prospect showcase into preseason and into the start of the NHL season for Yurov, where it's been like up and down, but like the difference between a kid like him who plays a couple years in the KHL versus someone who goes like right from juniors into the NHL, like, let's see how they look. They might get like 2 minutes here, but like, even when Yurov had games where either he wasn't super noticeable or was making some mistakes, there were always, like, I feel like every time I watch him, I still see every once in a while where, like, whether it's positioning, just like a play with a stick, there's so many pro habits in his game just from playing so much pro hockey already, like in a really good league in the KHL for 2 years. I still just like, it just puts him at like a leg up over some of these other young prospects, where that's why I'm just like so wanting them to just like continue to just let him play through. He's had these struggles in the KHL. He's worked through them. Mm-hmm. Like, he went from playing like 8 seconds a night, and then they finally let him play center, top 6, lights up the KHL, wins the Gagarin Cup. And then he's had a couple injuries since, but he's worked through these mistakes before, played at a really high level, played really well. So that's why I like would love to continue to see them continue to like just use him more, elevate him more, let him play through those mistakes. And I think like this is the time to do it too. Obviously early in the year, but like, you have absolutely no idea what your lines might even look like when you get healthy again, or well, as healthy as they could possibly get. So that was that's where like I'm kind of at with Yurov, and realistically most of these young kids anyways. And again, just the fact that he obviously gets rewarded tonight, huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like the one part that has never, I think, been an issue, even watching in preseason, is his ability to play smart on the defensive side of the puck, right? Like, there's not a lot of those like quote unquote rookie mistakes that you see out of a lot of young forwards, to your point, especially maybe ones coming out of Canadian juniors, or, even like a lower Swedish league or European league. Like, the defensive side of the game is usually the harder part to teach, especially to forwards. But I think for Yurov, it's almost the opposite. Like, hey, you've got the defense down. Like, hey, let's get in the offensive zone and let's take some chances. Let's use that creativity, to your point. Like, he was a leading scorer in the KHL. I think like outpaced Kirill Kaprizov's production at the same age. Like, not saying that Danila Yurov's going to develop into Kaprizov, but like, it just shows like it's not necessarily fluky offensive skill that he has. And, that was one of his big, things in the draft too, which he's just kind of this well-rounded player who can kind of do a little bit of everything, has good creativity. And You hope that this game is maybe even a little bit of a launching pad for him. Even if it, not necessarily saying that he's going to go on and, obviously he's on a point streak, he's a staple in the top 6, but just from building a confidence, right? Like you look at Marco Rossi when he came in the NHL, highest scoring player in the preseason, 19 game drought, and with what 1 assist I think in his first 19, goes back to the AHL. Like you start to grip your stick a little bit tighter, where you're off. It's this is game 7, like to get that assist, or I think he had an assist already maybe earlier.
You got scratched the first 2.
Yeah,
this is his first point.
Yeah, so to get in, get the first NHL goal, that first point, essentially 5 games into your NHL career, like I think that's a good motivator for him. Gets that monkey off the back, like, hey, just go play your game now, and like we said, a great game from him tonight, and hopefully a sign of things to come.
Yep. And then transitioning to the back, I know that we've had a couple comments just about some of the defensemen, specifically Jiricek. I thought he was fucking awesome tonight, and I think someone else had put it up. He looked really good with fucking Middleton.
Which right now is a tall task, because Middleton has looked like absolute garbage to start the year.
Yeah, tough fuck. It's always interesting with him too. It's like he's also one of the guys where it's like when he's playing really well, it's not like he's not like. I mean, yes, he did. What was it, last year or 2 years ago? He scored like 8 goals, 9 goals. You're like, holy shit, he's like scoring. This is weird. But when he's playing really well, it's mostly just like quiet. And he's like hitting everything that moves. It's like the loudest part of his game. But when it's bad, holy fuck, it is. It is bad. I did love, just because it made me cry laughing. At one point, I think it was the second period. Like he knocked a puck loose, and he looked up and saw that like he was the furthest player up, and he started the rush. Oh, he looked like fucking Pat Maroon just wheeling up the ice, and like not in like full effort. Like it was unbelievable how much effort, how hard his strides were, and the lack of speed. Like he just like got halfway into the offensive zone and like just turned up. He's like, I don't know why I did that. Just like flung one across the ice.
And I think too, a lot of that stuff just gets magnified when you're a bigger guy too. Like it,
right?
Because there's just that much more mass that's moving. Like if a small guy's a choppy stride, you don't maybe notice it as much. But yeah, and like producer Mateo in the chat, mentioning had a really good diving stick play on the PK. I think that's a nice hat tip to him too. Right? Middleton goes to the box. That's usually a spot where the Wild have leaned on Middleton on the penalty kill. I think you could argue that's maybe the one spot he's been a little bit better is on the PK. But again, trusting that we talked about you're off getting an offensive zone spot, seizing the opportunity with a goal. David Jiricek, getting a chance on special teams, making a big play. Like you talk about doing the little things to earn the trust. Selling out, making a good play on the PK to get back. To your point, even if it was choppy, poke checking a puck away and starting a rush. Like it's just those little things. Like they won't always show up on the score sheet, but these guys doing these things over time, it's what you want to see for your young players, just taking those steps, making the small plays that, eventually could go a really long way. So yeah, I think, there's obviously a lot of raw skill there. There's some stuff that needs improving, but like to your point, like not every player can come in and be Kaprizov or Brock Faber and be impact like right away. Like these are still
almost none.
Yeah,
almost zero. Basically, no players are going to do that.
Faber came in at was he 20, about to turn 21? I think Kaprizov was 23 or 24 in his first season. Like I see, like they sent Ogren down because he's a bust. I'm like the kid is 21 years old. Like his development is still very much a work in progress. Like this, it's not linear for all prospects. Like look at Ish and I talk about Alexei Protas on the Capitals all the time. Like. He's a late bloomer. Tage Thompson, like a great player. Like the Wild are clamoring for him to, the Wild to go out and trade for him. Like he didn't really have a breakout season until 26, 27. Like it doesn't work the same for all the guys. Like just have a little bit of freaking patience. 1 or 2 bad games does not a whole career make when you're 21 years old. Now, if you're 36, 37, sure, then you can freak out for some bad games because then you're like, his father time caught up. But like, Christ's sakes, give these kids a bit of grace.
Yeah, there is a joke in there somewhere with how bad people immediately prematurely want to call these kids busts. There is a joke in there somewhere. I can't figure out exactly, but like on Jiricek too, there was, I don't know if I clipped it. I meant to, but I may have forgot to go back and actually clip it. So hopefully I can find the replay and I might be able to get a screen grab of it. But there was one sequence in the first period. It was right at the end of one of the sequences where they were just fucking hammering New York on the forecheck. They had like 2 line changes, and then there was one puck that came loose. And Yurchek was the only guy back. And in the preseason, there were a few times where he would either pinch or commit in the neutral zone too hard and just get burned, and like it either resulted in like a goal or a scoring chance the other way. He played it. You could see that he wanted to step forward and like make a play for the puck, but he smartly stopped himself and then pivoted and was able to like honestly like stop another like a odd man rush the other way. And then like won the puck back in the neutral zone and like sent it back in, and they just like went right back to work on the forecheck. So like stuff like that is the reason with kids like Yurchek. Obviously, like William's a different kind of defenseman, and at this point they're letting him cook, which he looks so confident now. It's very fun. But stuff like that with Yurchek, specifically players like that, I want them to let them play through mistakes and not just yank them or just like send them down if they make like one or if they have like a bad game or two. Like they're young kids, like, and I mean, I guess it's different for defensemen, but for me, with like how Yurchek, the whole like career trajectory so far for him, how he ended up here in the first place, I would love to just let them or see them let him continue to play through these mistakes because I think he can learn. He just like if you just give him, more than like 7, 8, 9 minutes, I think that's how he's going to learn. Because again, this is a kid that played pro in Czechia, got drafted super high. Columbus is a shit show when he gets there. And then obviously forces his way out. Lacerated spleen last year. Even this, what is it, 6 games he played with Minnesota last year when they were completely, like literally the whole team got hurt. By the end of those 6 games, I thought he looked really good too. Like he had like a game against Colorado, he was excellent, I thought.
Well, I think
so I would just love to let them cook.
Yeah, and I think you have to do that, right? Like you can't learn the NHL speed and the intelligence and the plays you need to make without having some exposure to that. And I think what they're doing right now is good. Like if you have to shelter some of those minutes a little bit, like that's fine. Like I have no issue with trying to shelter young defensemen. They're clearly trying to get some veterans with these guys as well. Obviously, Bullion with Spurgeon, who, as we've talked on my show, has historical resume of being able to prop up maybe defensemen that aren't as good. Like he made Jake Middleton. Jake Middleton probably owes him a chunk of the contract that he got from the Wild because of how, for one, he fit really well and they were a really good pairing. Middleton's had some ups and downs since then, but like he's carried Middleton at times. Obviously when he's with Jonas Brodin, they're argued, last year when in their minutes are one of the best shutdown pairs in the league. Like he has that ability. So, sheltering him a little bit with that and, continuing, to get reps with, and I think for Jake Middleton too, like maybe some of his warts are because he's playing a top 4 role. And I think realistically, he probably is more of a number 5 on like a true contender. So you can kind of get him into that role, like playing maybe not necessarily easier minutes, but just letting him, be a solid defenseman against kind of that middle of the lineup type. I think that's a better spot for Middleton than trying to eat up big time minutes. And, I think Faber's had a rough start, but I think some of that is he's trying to cover a little bit for Middleton where he can be more of this ancillary piece in your bottom pair. So I don't hate that, but, we'll see. These are probably my ideal pairs, healthy Bogosian or not. And he's had a good start, but this is what I wanted to see coming into the year. So it was nice to see it work out tonight.
And then just last one, Z William again. I just mentioned him. I think he has become very like I just watching his confidence grow the first few games here. Like again, you're gonna see mistakes. He's gonna turn the puck over. He's going to do that his whole fucking career because that's the kind of defenseman he is. Like he can let him go. Watching him at times, like there was literally one of the first shifts. It was like right after I think they gave up that goal. He just started dancing with the puck, goes wide, throws a little puck at someone. Fucking, I can't even believe I'm bringing it up. I usually never bring this up. Someone replied and turns the puck over because he sucks. And I was like, he threw the puck into the fucking scoring zone. Like, what are you talking about? He created a high danger chance. Like, fuck off. Like, what does it only count if it goes in the net? Like, shut the fuck.
Yeah. And I just think like
I've loved how confident he looks.
The thing that's really jumped out to me about him, especially these last couple games, is just he's fast. Like I knew he was a good skater, but like the high end speed is legit. Like
it's
there's
different.
Just a couple.
He did not have that 2 years ago last year. No. I did not see that before.
And I wish I could. I wonder if I retweeted it. There was a tweet I think I was using some of the NHL Edge stats, or maybe it was Mike Kelly who had it out. But I'm scrolling to see if I retweeted it. But it was about just kind of his top skating speed and where it ranked. Yeah, right here. Oh, it's actually from NHL PR. 7th among defensemen, all defensemen, not just rookie, all defensemen in max skating speed. He's hit 22.7 miles per hour, and is ranked in the 94th percentile at his position in offensive zone time percentage. Like those kind of numbers as a rookie. That is he even 20 yet? I don't think he is.
Maybe he's either 20
or maybe just turned 20, maybe, but he's still super young. So to be doing 19. All that, I think is really impressive. So
still 19.
Still 19.
There you go. And like we've talked, obviously, just given the fact that we usually mostly talk about prospects, like whenever we talked about Zeev's skating before, it's just like he's a very good skater, and like not because he hits super high top speeds. It's the like lateral, the four-way mobility, the lateral movement, the agility. That's what's always stood out about his skating. That's why I'm just like, there was one sequence today where it looked like it was at the end of a long shift too, and like someone got the puck by him, and he literally like, I mean, it wasn't even close, the race to the puck, and I was like, holy shit, I have not seen that kind of a speed burst. So I'd be very curious if someone asked him if that was something that he worked on this summer, like as far as like the skating strides, because that's the big thing with him, was like he's a plus skater, but not because he's like super fast. It's like he's super agile, he's athletic. And again, there's the four-way mobility and his ability to pivot, but like I've never really seen him hit these kind of speeds before, and it's very impressive. But I thought, again, I just love that he is looking comfortable, willing to try different things with the puck, use the skills, use the tools that he has, because that's what's going to make him a great defenseman in this league. So again, if that comes with mistakes too, he's a young player, let him play through those mistakes, he'll learn. And realistically, that's probably the only way he's going to learn anyways. So, but I've been very, very happy with his progression just in the first 7 games here. And Hoppy's here.
Welcome. Yeah, and I guess a little unfortunate, the whole talk track you just went through, because I'm basically going to make you repeat it, because I am going to need it for that segment for clipping purposes. But yeah, we all love Zeev Buium. And we love our prospects, and that's what we're going to get into right now. We are going to hit the final 5 of the heralded top 20 prospects put together by the panel of, I don't know, what would you guys even call it? Because I'm definitely not going to call us experts, but enthusiasts, the panel of enthusiasts.
Innocent bystanders.
You're not innocent.
Biased Homer dumbasses.
Super biased. Non-objective. Only whenever I watch the OHL, I'm only watching Adam Badok. It's like, that's it. Like every time he's like touches the puck, I'm like, that's a great play.
By the panel of individuals who do not have fine steaks or enjoy Italian Reds and are okay with young players getting a chance with this team. That is our panel.
Nailed it.
But yes, let's get back into it. And I guess for anyone watching that hasn't tuned in before, I'm going to do a super fast run through of what we've covered up to this point. Let's see. Just need to shuffle a little bit. Mateo, you can handle the screen layout for me, but starting at 20. Mateo, you got me? There, almost. We'll get there. 20, Jimmy Clark. 19, Aaron Pionk. 18, Mikey Milne. Some people say Milne, and I still haven't gone back and fact-checked what he said it was pronounced on the interview.
Milne, I believe.
Okay. 17, David Spacek. 16, Rieger Lorenz. 15, Theodore Hallquist. That's right, enunciate. 14, Caden Bankier. 13, Rasmus Kumpalainen. 12, Aaron Kiviharju. 11, Ryder Ritchie. And that gets us into the top 10. Last week, we covered and swooned on number 10, Adam Banach. 9, Riley Heidt. 8, Carson Lambos. 7, Hunter Haight, and 6, Charlie Stramel. We got 5 guys left. Any of you that pay any attention to the Minnesota Wild prospects know who the final 5 are, not necessarily the order. And those of you who don't pay any attention to prospects, and that's why you're here to learn more, then, hey, it'll be a fun little surprise for you. But let's not waste any more time. Number 5 in the Minnesota Wild top 20 prospects. David Jiricek, the man who apparently we only gave up draft picks for, if we want to be technical at this point, with just being so awesome that we got Damon Hunt back off waivers. He's in the conversation for like most polarizing, most talked about prospects for good and bad reasons. Brett, you want to kick it off with your thoughts on David Jiricek?
Yeah, if you before you jumped on, Z and I were talking just a little bit more specifically about just kind of his game tonight. But some of the things that we highlighted in there, like he is a player that at times does make some pretty glaring mistakes, but the raw tools that he possesses are definitely there. And as we talked about, like young players, still a lot of room to continue to grow. But to me, the raw tools are enough to get excited about him. Like, this is a guy we've talked about, I think, both on my show. I'm sure you guys talked about it extensively on your show. That this is a guy who's played phenomenally in Czechia and at the international level. Like when they, I believe, won the world championship, he was basically maybe not their true number one defenseman, but was leaned on as like a top pairing guy for them. Like we've seen him perform on big stages and big moments over and over again. The skating's still an issue, but the Wild and Andy Ness, we've seen him, we've seen what he's been able to do with guys like Marco Rossi and some of these other guys. I think even with maybe with Zeev Buium, who was here skating with the Wild this summer, who we just talked about his skating speed, before coming on. So I think there's still a lot of room for him to grow. And I think, you like to see him getting, these minutes now, stepping up in an injury. Tonight, I think took a good advantage of the opportunity we talked about. He got some time on the penalty kill tonight, made a big play to deflect a puck away to kind of, improve on the kills. So like all those little things have to get you excited. And I still kind of believe that he should be probably a top 4 defenseman long-term on this team. And it's probably quarterback in your second power play in ideal world here in the age post Spurgeon.
Yeah, I think like it's interesting now, like going back and like this draft, specifically this draft, it's now even more interesting considering we'll talk about this in a little bit probably, but Wild move Masters for Oscar Olausson, a minor league trade with Colorado. But it's really interesting now looking at where we're at 2025 here with this draft class. And Jiricek was, I wouldn't say he's always been polarizing, but even in his draft year, it was like, hey, there's this big, mean, physical, defensively solid, like right shot D-man who's played a ton of pro hockey already. He's got an absolute bomb of a one-timer. It's weird. His skating's like, again, another guy that's like doesn't have that top end speed, but it was always weird. Like he somehow would turn on that skating ability in his draft year and the year before that. If he was on the power play, like all of a sudden he looked like he could walk the line, like just as good as anyone else. So I think it's interesting to thinking back to what we've talked about, or like listening to Prodman on this show, or not this show, but Fellowship, figure out exactly what Jiricek's going to be once he is a full-time NHL defenseman. Because I mean, again, he gets drafted as this kid who's a right shot, 6'4", like super physical, again, defensively solid, but like he also has a ton of skill. He can score, really good shot. And he gets drafted as high as he does because he looks like a kid that could be a potential 1 or 2 minute muncher, put up a lot of points, and just like be super physical and defensive. And I think it's just been a little bit of quite the roller coaster since then. And I think right now he's kind of in a spot where Minnesota, again, like we were just talking about at the beginning of this show, should just let him play. Like, again, he's going to make a ton of mistakes, and that's fine. Like you have to. And again, I don't know if Poppy, you were in here or like in backstage when I mentioned it before. Like even tonight, I noticed there was one play that he made, where like we saw him make this mistake of jumping up too early, like a bad pinch, or just like committing to try to win a puck battle when he's the last guy back. We saw him do that several times in the preseason, and a bunch of times last year, like in the AHL. This year, or this time in the first period, correctly recognizes that like it's not a risk worth taking, and just started back checking and won the puck back and threw it back in the zone for them to go forecheck again. So I think there's like he's just right now at a point where he has to play through some of these mistakes. And the big question is just going to be when he is a full-time defenseman, like what is he? Is he going to be a guy that you're leaning on for offense that is like acceptable defensively, or can you use him as like a 4 or 5 guy, throw him on your second power play unit, but as big calling card just being that physical, maybe not a shutdown, but like just defensively reliable D-man. And that's gonna be the big question with him. I still don't know, but right now all I really want them to do is let him play. Give him more than like 8 minutes. I just looked again. I was shocked that he played less than 14 minutes tonight. I would have confidently told you he played like 18. I would have been like, yeah, he played like 20 tonight, like whatever. I was surprised that they only played like 13, I think it was like 45, 50 seconds. But I would like to see continue to get more minutes. I think this is also the time, like we said before, with Minnesota, where he should be playing. But yeah, no, the big question with him is just like, what is he as a full-time NHL defenseman? Like, where does he slot long-term in your lineup, whether it's here or if, God forbid, they move him again, which I don't know why that was like immediately a discussion last year. It was the weirdest fucking, that was the weirdest trade rumor. It's like, yeah, obviously they're going to trade him. He's like at the top of that list of trade candidates. I was like, he just got here. But letting him play through some of these mistakes, giving him more minutes, I think that'll obviously start to answer the question of what is he long term, because he's got a little bit of everything, but we just need to see him hone in on the one thing that's going to make him that full time NHL D-man.
Yeah, and I'm with Brett that it purely just the talent and the profile is undeniable. I think to your point, Z, with like what's his fit, I think I'm less concerned with that in the sense of like, oh, I don't know if we can find the fit. It's more, where do the Wild see him slotting long term, and do they feel like there's a redundancy there with someone else? Like there's already questions on whether or not he will be the second power play guy.
Mm-hmm.
Not because he's not talented enough, but because there's other guys in the pipeline that could potentially serve that. Or Jared Spurgeon might play for another 50 years. Be Jaromir Jagr. I feel like he's a guy that they're not going to be shy to move on from if there's someone else they think can kind of fit the mold that has it up top a little bit more. Because I'm with you. I always think with young players, especially defensemen, you got to give them the leeway to go out and fuck up here and there. But it was interesting getting Russo's perspective last week on Fellowship of the Rink, where he's very convinced that like he's had more than enough chance and that he keeps making the same mistakes. And that's where you run into a problem. If he's going to make the same mistakes over and over and he's not learning, that is problematic. I admittedly, like the start of this season, I have not watched every game because shit's pretty chaotic in my corner of the world right now. But that is the one thing that would scare me, because last year when we saw him get his little spot starts, we saw what he was doing, whether it was in Minnesota or Iowa. Mistakes are being made, but it's not like he was sitting there doing the same thing over and over. If that becomes the case, it is a very different story for whether or not you can keep on giving him that leash if he's not gonna take feedback and grow from it. A big thing, though, that they both talked about both on that episode, and we've seen them continue to write about it, post about it on Twitter, is Goligoski taking him under his wing. And it could be really interesting to see how that develops long term. It's going to be a lot of trial and error. And I think we've got this year, maybe next, to see where that trial and error takes us. But I think the one positive is since he got into the NHL with Columbus, the skating has been bludgeoned. Like everyone wants to point and say, he can't fucking skate. He's done. skating looks better. There's still plenty of room for him to improve, but he's already shown strides in that direction. That's positive. If he can just slow the game down and settle it a little bit upstairs, this guy's going to be sick. It's just, if he can't figure it out mentally, there's not a whole lot you can do for a guy, no matter how talented he is, especially on defense.
Yeah, and I think to our point earlier, like, again, another guy who's just 21, and I think, like,
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about this with Liam Ogren, who I think we'll talk about here shortly as well. Not to spoil completely, but there's only 5 players left. So, but he's still 21. I think, we talked about this with Yurov too when we were talking about his game tonight. Like, for young players, oftentimes the defensive side of the game is the hardest part to learn. Like, Yurchek's kind of been a little more of a two-way offensive at times, to Z's point, the booming shot being usable in offensive situations. But, I think there's still a lot of time for him to learn. Like, you have guys like Jared Spurgeon and Jonas Brodin in your organization, like, who better to learn from about how to play good defense than from two of the best to do it over the past 10, 15 years in those two. So, we talked about Ness. Like, I'm not really worried. I think, again, if he's at age 23 and we haven't seen those defensive mistakes that keep still happening, then maybe I'm worried. But I think we saw a good game from him tonight. I think we've seen flashes going back to that stint last year. So I think you just have to accept that with young players, there's going to be some good that comes with the bad. And you got to hope that long-term that good eventually wins out.
And I know the organization obviously believes in him. Otherwise, he's not here and he's not continuing to get these chances. But if they believed in him on the level that we're projecting here, why don't you give him some starts alongside a Jonas Brodin? Maybe not even for the full game, but just like get him out there with a player like that. And maybe it's not Brodin. Maybe that's not how they see the fit, or maybe they got to play on the correct side of the ice, but like get him out there with a player that frees him up to make the mistakes. Because I feel like if you're out there and all you're focused on is, oh, I cannot fuck up. If I get beat, we're screwed. You almost overthink it and grip the stick tighter, and it leads to even worse production, right?
I am at the point now where I would like, this is a terrible idea. This is me being full toxic. I don't give a fuck. Put him with Buyab. I don't care. Let them both cook. Whatever.
They will cook and get cooked.
Yeah,
it would just
high event hockey.
It would be like hockey. It'd be 8 minutes of ice time with like 10 shots on goal for each team.
I picture it's like Pierre Maguire's when he's in between the bench goes up to Hines, and Hines just goes, "Want to see some crazy shit?" And then it's just Buyab and Jiricek flying around the ice.
Now, what if you like offset that with getting them on the ice with a far more defensively responsible forward group? Like you get Hartman, Foligno, Trenyan, reverse
Eriksson Ek.
It all. I mean, sure, but they've been playing Ek with guys that maybe don't fit that bill. So
yeah, they've got a lot to figure. There's a whole lot to figure out up top, but I am down to let the young kids cook. So especially now, fuck it, who cares? If you're gonna play the fucking Bruins who stink, yeah, fucking put fucking Jiricek and Buyab forward. Who cares?
Yeah.
Honestly, if you really want to scare the Bruins, just get the Wild medical staff out there for the game.
Yeah. Also, do you guys think we see David Hunt soon?
I'd love that.
I just don't know for who.
That's what it'd be. That's
gonna come down to injury.
This is what we talked about when he got reacquired. I was like, I feel so bad for this fucking kid. Like, I'm like, okay, well, is he gonna play? Like,
I mean, I don't know if Brodin, but like to me, it was like, oh, this is your Brodin insurance. And if I think especially if Bogosian just wasn't working on the left side and you need to get back him on the right side. So now you feel like you have. I think you like it'll bounce between Bogosian and Jiricek as your seventh D on the right side specifically. But I think in the event of if Brodin goes down, like I think you're probably maybe throwing a guy like Hunt in that spot, maybe over elevating Bogosian or whatever. Like, especially like say a Middleton and Jiricek starts to really work out, right? Like, instead of moving Middleton, is that where you maybe throw in a guy like Damon Hunt? Because I think he can handle it. Like, I know
next time they're in,
I'm not questioning whether he handles it, but Brett, I never again in my life want to hear you say elevate Bogosian without at least 10 words separating them.
Oh yeah, you weren't here before. We were like, we were complimenting, but really, this feels gross.
Yeah,
this doesn't feel good at all.
No, I'm saying I think like I could see a world where they'd rather play Hunt in that spot, just given he's more comfortable there. But I just hope that he doesn't, like, they don't have to put him on waivers again, because I think he's kind of the exact kind of depth defenseman that you want to have.
Give me a Hunt Jiricek pair.
You say you feel bad for him?
Give me the Hunt Jiricek pair. I need them playing together. The player that got traded for the other.
It would be very interesting. Still sad that it won't be Hunt Matejchuk, but it's hard for me to feel bad for him when he's collecting the NHL paycheck. He's like, no, I'm good with this. I'd rather do this than go to Iowa and make pennies.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
But no better way, to close out the David Jiricek segment than with the player that we fake traded for him in Damon Hunt. But that'll do it. That is number 5 in the Minnesota Wild top 20 prospects. Moving over to number 4. Speaking of letting these young kids cook, we have the Swedish chef himself, Jesper Wallstedt. This is a guy that I think since we drafted him, this is a guy that we've all been pretty jacked about having in the organization, especially just with the added caveat that Edmonton, of all teams, traded that pick to us.
That was just the weirdest
thing. They're not looking for a goalie, though. That's not a thing.
They've never been looking for a goalie for their entire existence.
No, never for their entire existence have they ever always done that. He is the guy that I would maybe throw in the bucket with Jiricek as the most polarizing, because depending on the month, depending on the year, experts are telling you that he's one of the best or one of the most disappointing goaltending prospects of the last few years. Last year was banana lands for so many reasons. We've got the absolutely bizarre decision to think you could start the season with 3 NHL goalies and that was going to be fruitful. They figured out pretty quickly that was a dumb freaking move. Send him down to Iowa. The team was garbage, as we've talked about quite a bit. Injuries hit. He battled it too and felt bad for himself. Like, he flat out said it when he came on with Joe and I last year. Like, he didn't hide from me. He's like, yeah, I was told I was going to be an NHL guy. I get sent down to Iowa. I didn't take it great. That's partially on me and partially on them, but all I can do is work on getting better. Now there is no question. Fleury is not here. It is him and Gustafsson. How do we feel, guys? We've got a little bit more spread rankings. I didn't say this for Jiricek, but literally everyone ranked him 5 except for me. This one, we've got a range anywhere from 2 to 6 among the group.
Hey.
What do we got?
Go ahead, Z.
I'm still, again, I've never really shaken how high I am on Gustafsson. The only reason at this point, I've had him actually either 1 or 2 in my rankings since we started doing this. At this point, it's just he's older, and we have to put last year into it, with that context too. Again, I still have last year as a complete and utter anomaly as far as his career trajectory goes. We said it from the time that Bill Guerin was just we're gonna have 3. I was like, that is very dumb. That feels like it can't possibly work. Obviously never did work. Then he had 3 different injuries last year. Iowa has been a shit show defensively since he got there. And when he's been healthy and not injured like he was last year, he's been an AHL All-Star. So I was actually kind of confused when it was there were a lot of scouts league-wide, not just people who are interested in the Wild, but there were a lot of people talking about oh, maybe Wallstedt isn't as good as we thought he was. like around the league. And I was like, that's very confusing because there's zero context within this analysis. Again, the one thing I would, and I think Promin mentioned this on Fellowship too. Like
I was gonna say, yeah, Promin had fair points.
Yeah, he had a good point where it was just like the one thing when he was healthy last year was like what makes him such a good goaltender and why I always compared him to like a Tuukka Rask as far as like the model goaltender. It's like he's not going to be flopping on the crease. He's not the most athletic dude in the world. He's not the biggest dude in the world, but he reads the play unbelievably well. The anticipation, and he is quick with his glove. And he's like, again, he makes the big saves look super easy. Even when he was healthy last year, that just like was not happening. Again, I still put a ton of that on the Iowa Wild. It was like comically bad last year. And even like I think it was his first or second year in Iowa. I remember there was a few like his first 4 games, he was like averaging like 40 saves a game, and he was like 3-1. And I was like, this is unbelievable. Like this poor bastard. But again, I think given the fact that like this series obviously starting that one-way contract, they have to keep him here. Like he's here. I actually weirdly think, given how much of a shit show it was last year, given the fact that like he thought he was gonna be in the NHL, was never in the NHL, stayed in Iowa, got injured and all that. Weirdly, like him having to be here, it's like knowing that, hey, no, like, this is where I live, this is where I'm gonna play, this is it. I'm not going down unless they somehow waive me, which even then, I guess realistically, how many teams are gonna take a swing on that $2.1 million cap hit? I think this is actually like kind of like an ideal scenario where he's like, even if it doesn't go great, I'm here. Like this is it. Like it's me. So I'm still super high on this kid. Again, like we're talking about a goaltender. Usually these kids don't even like become full-time NHL goalies until they're what, like 25, 26. He does have that super high upside. He's still a super smart goaltender. Again, he's healthy now. I thought his first 2 games he looked really good so far. And there's just like a notable difference. So still super high on him. Still love him. Still think he's gonna be a long-term NHL goaltender. And again, like when you look at the fact that he's got this 2-year deal, pair with the fact that Gustafson's perfect contract for the next few years here, or was it 5 years? I think it's like a perfect scenario, perfect situation. And thank God it kind of like worked out the way that it did, because it could have gone the other way after last year. But I am still very high on Wallstedt. Still think he's gonna be a great goalie. And I think like the added pressure of knowing that he's going to be in the NHL, paired with you have Gustafsson here not making a ton of money here long term as a backstop anyways, also relieves that pressure too. So I think it's a perfect situation.
And you say thank God with the Gustafsson situation. Thank God Marc-Andre Fleury didn't get a second wind when he did that preseason game for Pittsburgh and be like, yeah, Billy, you know what? Fuck it, I'm back.
Yeah, calls like, Wallstedt first. Sorry, buds. Sorry, buds.
Yeah, I think like for me, like I had to rank him. Like if I re-ranked right now, I think he's probably back in my top 2. Like after seeing his preseason, because I did this. I think we filled this out. I think maybe just before the preseason started. But like he had to be down on him a little bit to Z's, but like he had a horrible year last year. But his like I do think like. I'm a big proponent of analytics, and I understand that like good goalies will save more goals than they're supposed to. But when your defense is that atrocious, like the goals just will pile up. Like even for the best goalies in the world, if your team cannot defend, like you're eventually going to give up some soft punches on the sheer amount of volume that you're going to be facing. So I think that was a huge part of it. But like Isha and I talked on our show after his extension, just to Z's point, just how perfect of a fit this seems right now, just where Gustafsson's at. Like goaltenders historically don't really hit their primes until 24, 25, 26. Like Wallstedt, another guy who I think is easy to forget is he 22 right now, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like realistically still, 2-3 years away from being like at the peak of his game, full on starting goaltender. But like, I think, the other reason.
Look at Markstrom, look at Decord. Like they were like 28, 29.
Right. Like it takes time, and they'll be better later into their 30s typically than maybe a forward or defenseman. And I think the other reason I think he's a perfect fit for Philip Gustafsson, Z, you talked about when his game's on, it's and as Pronman kind of mentioned, like just tight on his angles, really like calm in the crease, easy stops. And I feel like that's exactly how Philip Gustafsson is too. Like when Fleury was on, it was kind of like these scrambling saves and, kind of the flashy stuff. With these two, it's just very much like, oh, there was a huge scrum in front where Fleury would have been doing, snow angels in the crease before getting it covered. These two will just be like on their knees, like in the butterfly, like not moving, staying square. And I think especially through these first couple games already, we've seen that from him. I thought, he bounced back really well in that LA game. Could be really easy to get in your head after giving up 3 goals in the third period. But the way he could, he made some huge saves in overtime, including on a 4-on-3. And then to go 4 for 4 in the shootout was huge. And I like that he was fired up about it too, right? Like,
yeah, because fucking Kempe, yeah. Oh, yeah. He was giving it to Kempe on the bench because after that tying goal, fucking Kempe was talking relentless shit. And so that was just like, yup, let's fucking go.
Yeah, so I think, and you have to see that because I think it shows like a level of like, obviously all these players care, but like goaltenders, a lot of time you maybe see that emotion kind of after it's all said and done. You don't often see it kind of live. So he's passionate. Like he talked about talking to sports psychologists. Like he had a tough year last year because he cares so much. It's kind of like how I look at it in a way. It's like he wanted so badly to be in the NHL and he cared so much that it affected him. But, at the same time, he cared so much. He recognized like, hey, I need to get my head right. And if you guys didn't read the gamer that Joe Smith, Hoppy, your co-host, wrote after that LA game, and just the interview he had with Wallstead, where he basically talked through like, I used some of the strategies that I learned last year in that third period in overtime to settle myself back down, to lock back in. Like, I think that's huge for a young goalie. And I think, that's a type of game where if he maybe doesn't get out of that he really dwells on it, but instead he gets the win, comes out with another really good start, the other night. So I think there's a lot of good here. I think he's in a perfect situation. And I think, if he can be a really good 1B right now, like that's all you need from him. And I think he can absolutely be that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hand up, I am the one person in the group that ranked him outside of the top 5. I want to be clear that that's not indicative of being low on him. That is more what I say here, twice a week, Z? Goalies are voodoo, and it's pretty hard to get a firm pulse, especially on a kid this young. You have to factor in last year, but I still absolutely believe in this kid being that 1B, like you said, Brett, and the hope is by the time Gus's contract is done, he becomes that 1A. I do think that it's really more indicative for me that I have 5 guys in this pool that I am really high on. And Charlie Stramel was the guy that edged him out for me. And he has become a guy that will be a Minnesota Wild player. I would love to see him get a chance as soon as the season ends this year. We'll see, obviously, how the season plays out and if he's actually in that place. But I love Jesper Wallstedt. I might like him more as a person than I do as a hockey player. And that's got, again, no knock against him as a hockey player. He is just a fascinating human, very interesting.
He has I
think he's gonna figure shit out.
It's a borderline like Brizgalov level of just goaltender weirdness. Like he is, but his quotes are
Sweden
phenomenal.
version.
Yeah, he's the Swedish Brizgalov. But like to your point, like his quote. Like I haven't personally been able to actually talk to him, but just like reading his quotes and stuff, it's just like kind of nuts some of the stuff the guy says. But I'm really excited. It's a huge year for him, and I think so far so good.
It's that he's candorous. Like there's a lot of goalies that hide behind the cliches and just like say what you need to get out of an interview. He does not hide from it. He wears emotions on his sleeve and he says exactly what he fucking thinks, whether he should or not. And I respect the hell out of that from any player, but goalie, given the nature of the position in particular. So
I think part of that too is just the fact that he played almost 50 fucking games of pro hockey as a goaltender in the SHL before he turned like 20. Like it's just like impressive. And like just to bring up that LA again specifically, Brett, you mentioned that overtime, that 4-on-3 where like they also got caught out there for a while. Where I think that a whole 2 minutes they're basically just shelling him. And one of the things that we had talked about with Wallstedt over the last couple of years was like, again, how smart he is, his ability to read the play, knowing when to kill the puck, is just like freeze the puck. Specifically, that last moment in that 4-on-3 where every dude was just gassed on the ice, and he just makes a big glove save, knocks it down, freezes it, lets them change. Stuff like that is what made him so good as like a fucking 18-year-old playing pro hockey in Sweden. So again, the fact that we've just like seen flashes of that in these first couple games here is big. So again, like I thought it was ridiculous that people like he stinks now, he's a bust. Again, there's a joke in there somewhere about like young players premature. Like I don't know. But he's about to turn 22. I think he's a couple days.
That's overcorrecting. That's people protecting themselves to be like, oh, I said this last year. Like I knew he was going to go the other way.
The amount of tweets I get about that shit.
It's cult mentality, man. Like they don't want to be the one that's still like, no, he's still good. Like it's okay.
I happily do it. I'm like still like, dude, listen, Hovanov, if someone gives him a chance.
What's that guy?
He needs someone to like walk around with him, and just the second he picks up a burger or a shake, they just smack it out of his hand.
That's still the funniest. That fucking Tim Harvey interview. Like we saw him. We're like, you gotta lose weight. I saw him 2 hours later in the airport. He's having a smoothie or no ice cream shake. I was like, oh my god.
He knows what he's about. He's not letting anybody change him. All right. Well, there we go. We still believe, still top 5 in the prospect pool. Jesper Wallstedt coming in at number 4. And quick, before we jump over to number 3 in the pool, shout out MNSIMON, member of the channel for 7 months. Simon, I don't know if you exist on Twitter or Instagram or any social media, DM me at State of Hoppy before we're done with the remaining 3 prospects, and then just kindly throw in the chat here where you actually DM'd me. I'll shoot you over a link if you want to jump in and talk a little bit of hockey with us after we get through the prospects. Appreciate you though, man. Real quick.
Sorry, I just had to see what Hovanov was up to.
Yeah, I just pulled it up too. I was like,
what? Played 9 games.
Don't be quick.
Played 9 games 2 years ago in the VHL, which is the Russian AHL. Did not play last year and is now playing for Angers in France. 3 games, 3 assists. Didn't play any hockey. Has played less than 70 games in the last 4 years.
Hear me out though. If there is a place for him to play, I feel like France and Italy are the places where like it's good food, but like none of it's really bad for you. It's like he can eat his
point
ass
per game
off
player,
and you won't get fat.
Point per game player right now.
Yeah, point per game player. That's all you can ask. All right. With that, we're moving on to number 3 in the Minnesota Wild top 20 prospects. Liam Ogren. This is a guy that has been talked about a decent amount lately because, I mean, coming into the season, especially that we saw in preseason, we were all hoping / expecting that he was going to play 3rd, if not 2nd line. Things haven't necessarily unfolded as hoped. But obviously, based on our collective rankings, our group actually being anywhere between 1 and 4 across the board, Liam Ogren, how do we feel today? Because again, this is different than when we initially did our rankings, at this point, about a month ago.
Yeah, I think if I did this again, I don't know if my spot would change on him. I still feel like there's a really high floor here for Ogren, contrary to LaPanta's declaration that he'll never have more points in his career than Marcus Johansson. A guy with
gotta be a bit now.
It has to be at this point, but a guy of his size, with his shot, with his ability to play two-way hockey, like he is too good for the AHL. And that this isn't like a Sam Annis, Jerry Mayhew. Like if a player is dominating the AHL at 27, 28, yeah, they're probably a career tweener. But when you're dominating it at 20, 21 years old, like that's a different story. And I think he's admitted as to much as like there might be just some nerves. And I think, Z, as you and I talked about with Urov, like getting that monkey off your back, like, yeah, it's awesome that he got that look in preseason in the top 6, but all of a sudden you have 1 or 2 games where maybe you made a mistake or, you only had 1 shot on goal, or you feel like, and you start to just grip that stick a little bit tighter. Like, I think he is battling with some nerves. But like the thing I always go back to is like, when I was 21, I didn't have it all figured out in my head yet. Like I was still learning shit. I was still dealing with emotions. Like these are still human beings. They're not robots. And I think Mateo put something in here that Ogren's kind of, look out. He's just getting the Wallstedt treatment from last year. Like, yeah, have a spot open, send back down to Iowa. You get it all figured out. And, if it's this year just as a bottom 6 or an injury call-up fill-in, like that's not worrisome to me. Like I still think he's going to have a really long career here where he's going to be a really impactful player. Ideally, as we talked about, a long time, maybe second line with Eriksson, Ek, and Boldy. Like I still think that line makes so much sense and would feed families. We'll see if he gets there, but I have every reason to believe that he will. And, the slow start to this year, I mean, he goes down to Iowa and 7 minutes into the first period of his first game, he scores. So, like, clearly, he has a chip on his shoulder and he knows he's got a lot to prove and trains like an absolute maniac. So I think there's still a lot to like about his game. And like his really only knock in the NHL is, well, he hasn't really produced yet. Like it's not he's doing this wrong, he's doing this poorly. It's just the production isn't there yet, but I think it'll come.
And I do think, though, that what you just said there, Brett, with him scoring 7 minutes into his first game in Iowa, it does lend credence to, okay, it made sense to send him down. Clearly, he needed the confidence booster. He needed to go down and just shake some of this shit off. So while I don't agree with some of the things that one Wild broadcaster will regularly say, trying to slander this poor boy, I do think that sending him to Iowa when he's hitting a wall, hey, at least we have a cheat code, and it's not that bad of a drive down 35W. Z, you are the head Swedish scout for Smart Scouting.
Not anymore.
Talk about Liam Ogren. Talk about where he's at today, but talk about the history of it. Like, is he where you thought he would be, or higher or lower? Like, just where has his path taken him?
Well, I think realistically, again, I think we talked about this too, even coming into the year, where we're like, yeah, like all the talk was like in like the training camps or whatever, he looked phenomenal, was playing on that second, like had filled in and like played with like, I think it was like Eriksson, Tarasenko, and looked really good in practices and stuff and like scrimmages. But like that doesn't really mean anything, obviously. But like we saw what he did last year where they sent him down, let him play top 6 minutes in Iowa, just like eviscerated his minutes. Goes down, obviously, yesterday or 2 days ago, immediately scores a goal. But like we talked about this in the preseason, we're like, if he ends up, like if they start the season and he's playing 4th line minutes, you're not really getting the Liam Ogren that you picture long-term in the NHL. He's better off. He's better served playing top 6 minutes, being a sniper, scoring goals, and working on like the defensive game as well. And playing like anywhere from 17 to 22 minutes a night in the AHL. So even if like this year he only gets like a couple more games in the NHL, but like basically is an AHL player this year, that's completely fine. This is another kid. He doesn't turn 22 till January, like super young. And the Wild, again, they're still like with the contracts they have, with the players they have slotted in like the middle 6 and top 6, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for him to like come up here, play 7 minutes a night, your 4th line, and then you also expect him to like produce. Like that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So I think he's completely fine if he just like stays in Iowa and again like plays a ton of minutes, continues to play pro hockey, and continues to produce. Like right now he's got 1 game, 1 goal this year. Last year he put up just under a point per game. I think he scored 19 goals in 40 something games, I want to say, last in the AHL. So he's right where he like realistically needs to be, with the contracts the Wild have right now, with where they're at So I'd much rather have him go play first line minutes in Iowa versus come up here, play 7, 8, 9 minutes a night in your fourth line. And like, even then, like you're like trying to find minutes to give him because you don't really know what you're going to ask of him on a fourth line. Like realistically, when Minnesota's going, that fourth line is like a checking line, defensive hockey. They're all probably killing penalties. That's not really what you want him to do right now as a 21-year-old scoring forward. Long term, he's a middle six guy that's going to give you some offense. And just the way that he plays, and also just like his overall profile, like he's a 6'1", 200-pound, like strong skater, but just like plays really smart hockey. Like he's going to give you secondary offense. He can play in the power play like long term once he's a full-time NHL guy. Like right now, I think he's better served playing in Iowa. So no problem with where he's at developmentally. And like he was never going to like get drafted, maybe play one more year in Sweden and then immediately become a top 6 forward in the NHL. Like that was never going to happen. That was never in the cards. So I think he's right where he needs to be. And if he stays in Iowa this whole year again and scores like 20, 30 goals, that's great. So still super high on him. Love the player. I think he's just like such a good piece for a good contending team long term. Again, probably projects like a middle 6 scorer. He can fill in your top 6. There's obviously that overlap in that second line. You know, it's always like really weird. The fact that we have to group by the way, like bottom, middle, and top 6. So like there's some overlap. But he can play up and down your lineup like long term when he's a full-time NHL guy. So very happy with where he's at. Completely fine.
And I think the other, being that we're in the state of Minnesota, I think a lot of the Liam Ogren, bus talk, I think also comes from the fact that Jimmy Snuggerud went kind of in that same range.
Dang it, Brett. I was going to save it for after our next player because they all kind of tie together. But yes, that is absolutely a talking point.
And like, I think like that's fair. Like, would I trade Ogren for Snuggerud straight up right now? Yeah, I probably would because, Snuggerud is what the Wild could use right at this moment. But at the same time, do I believe that Liam Ogren won't ever get to his level? I would say I don't believe that. No, I think he very much still could. It might just take it, maybe it takes half a year longer, a year longer, and that's fine.
Well, Brett, rank the 3. Ogren, Snuggerud, Yurov.
Right now or career?
I'm saying, who do you want? I'm not going to say 5 years out. Let's say 2 years from now.
Yurov, Snuggerud, Ogren.
Okay.
I think is probably the order I'd put it in.
I'd probably just go Snuggerud, Yurov, Ogren. But there's not a whole lot between Yurov and Snuggerud. Again, I think
that's the thing. It is a narrow
Snuggerud's top. Snuggerud's top is like a sniper. It's going to give you. He's going to flirt with 40 goals if he hits his full potential. Yurov's going to give you, if he hits his full potential, like 25 goals, 50, 60 points. Really, really, really good two-way game. Like Snuggerud, you're just like all offense. Ogren's going to give you a little bit of everything. Like I think he can be like a 20, 30 guy.
Yeah. And the edge for me on Yurov is just playing the premium position, like playing down the middle and like you look at. Yeah, and he looks better.
That's
and better
funny
there.
too. It's funny too because like the reason that Snuggerud really like fucking blew up in his draft year was he's playing a ton of fucking center with the USN TDP. Long term, he's not a center in the NHL.
Yeah, so I think Yurov can be good in that spot, and I think the Wild are in that rare position where they're a team that tends to drive play more from the wing. So like Yurov doesn't have to necessarily be like your prototypical top 5 center on a Stanley Cup team. Like when you're playing with a Kaprizov or a Boldy who have attributes that you usually see in the center, like if you can just perfectly complement them, use your two-way play, use that creative playmaking, as we saw tonight, just going to the net, like a lot of the things that have made Marco Rossi successful playing between those two, I think go the same for Yurov. But I think there's, I think for me, a hair more upside there even than there is with Marco. And I love Marco.
I think Hoppy Wheeler, when he was on with you and Joe, he also mentioned like, is Yurov like your prototypical like top 6 center? No, but like maybe the Wild get it done by committee, especially the center position. Like you have Kaprizov,
like you have
those guys, yeah, like they've always done. But like you still have the high end. They have the high end players at the wings right now that they didn't have before.
In 2 to 3 years, if your top 4 centers are Eriksson Ek, Yurov, Rossi, and Charlie Stramel, are you upset about that? Because I don't think I would be.
I think the question is, who's the 4?
Stramel.
Stramel.
Just to let him
unless
Let
he's
him
playing
play
at a
the
level
physical.
that you can't do that.
Well, that's a good problem to have. Now you have a trade
100%,
asset.
100%. That's my X factor, though, is like he is the obvious answer. He will play that role the best, but also that might not be enough minutes for that guy.
Yeah. Then you trade him and you fill a gap somewhere else.
Or again, maybe he ends up being like a wing, and then you've got like Strabon your 3C, and like a Kumpalainen projects as a really fucking solid 4C. Like they had like that's the thing with this prospect pool that they've had since like realistically since Judd came in and started drafting. We've had like, all of these we've like such a diverse prospect pool, and again like the fact that they went out and drafted as many players as they did, as many different kinds of prospects as they did at this draft, I think the last 4 or 5 years of drafting. Like they've had the time to go out, develop, and now you have like a somewhat of a projection of where you think they might be, and you can like weed guys out. Certain guys are like look different than they did when you first drafted them. But like that's the whole beauty of like having a diverse, deep prospect pool in general.
It's a bit of a side tangent, but like given this organization, and I'm not saying that there's been a bunch of burners necessarily, but do you see the Wild playing a guy like Rasmus Kumpalainen as your 4C when the real concern with him is the skating?
I think it depends who you have on the wings with him. At
Fair.
that point.
All right.
You can't have 3 slow guys, but you could have one if he does the right things, plays the right spots.
Yeah, and like Kumpalainen's again the guy that's just like somehow made it work as long as he had like moving 8 miles an hour with top speed.
Yeah, fair. Well, let's bring it back to Ogren to close out number 3. I'm curious what you guys think, and maybe I'm totally galaxy braining this, but he is like in and of himself a catch-22. Like damned if you do, damned if you don't. He's the guy that is the easiest call up for the Wild if things like if there's an injury, it doesn't matter what line, like you can call him up and he'll make it work.
Mm-hmm.
He's also the easiest to send down. Like he's just kind of, he feels like he's stuck being a rover between the two teams until he has a small stretch where it's like, no, you have no choice but to keep me here. And it will be a very strange day when I like hard and fast agree with something LaPanta says, but it's where his go-to phrase of like, prove it, like show that you're better comes into play. Like when you're up here, if you get 5 games, fucking do something. Show them that you're not just a guy that you need to stay because you just happen to be in an unfortunate position where they're going to ping pong you up and down between Iowa and Minnesota as long as they need to.
Well, and that's why I always bring up the contracts too, right? Like you're not at risk of losing him on waivers, and like you still have guys like Foligno, Hartman who aren't going to be here for more than like a couple of years, anyways.
They're going to get another 4x4. No move clause.
The Billy G, the Spesh. But yeah, again, like that's why I always bring up the contracts with like a guy like Ogren too. Like right now, you can sign him up and down, no risk. But that's not going to be it forever, obviously.
Totally. No, fair. All right, that is number 3, and I mean we've already pretty well teed up the second ranked prospect in the Minnesota Wild top 20 rankings. The man they call Danila Yurov, and I know we already talked about him a little bit in the Liam Ogren portion because of the natural talking point with Yurov, Snuggerud, and Ogren, all kind of being in that same shuffle. All 3 players considered by both the Wild and the Blues heavily. And actually, screw it. We were going to get into this as a separate line item once we were done with the prospects, but Brett, you were the one that found it and shared it with the group. I had no freaking clue that this happened, but like we got to talk about this because it's awesome. This is such a great story that I'm still just like, how did this not come out sooner?
Yeah, it's crazy. So I have to credit the Empty Netters podcast. I had this was one of my college buddies, my best friend Brandon, sent this to me. It's a story with her name is Ava Erickson. So she's from Minnesota, and she was on Survivor I think like maybe it might have been last year or the year before. Kind of went viral for she has autism, and had a moment in a challenge where she kind of broke down. Another one of the cast members kind of like came over, gave her a hug, and kind of like calmed her down. And there was a lot of talking points about that. So that's kind of like her rise to fame, if you will. Huge hockey fan. So after this, like had a pretty large like social media following, like because she was on reality TV, all this stuff. So basically what ends up happening is an account impersonating Danila Yurov, like follower ratio high, like thousands of followers, following a bunch of people, like kind of posing as him. Like this fake Danila Yurov account slides into Ava's DMs on Instagram and like essentially asks for nudes. And she, being a Minnesota hockey fan and just hockey fan in general, is like, something about this like doesn't seem quite right. Like, I'm gonna dig in this a little more. And she kind of digs in, is like, yep, this is definitely like a fake account. So she goes and looks for Danila's actual account and like finally finds it. Like at this time, this was before the draft. So like he didn't have a huge following really, like outside of Russia, like a couple hundred followers and all this stuff. And she sends him a DM and is like, hey, I just want to let you know that like there is this account out there that's like impersonating as you and like asking for nudes. Like, I just thought you should know. And Danila like responds in kind of like broken English. And he's like, not me, Agent Fix.
Agent Fix, yeah. And I think an important caveat though, Brett, is like her immediate reaction when she looked at the account is like, shit, like this looks legit, like 5,000 followers. Like,
yep.
The posts like definitely seem like it would be Danila Yurov. So it's like, I can see where someone might get got by this.
Yeah. So what happens next is basically like now the agent's like scrambling to kind of figure this out. Around this same time, like the league is investigating this because he's now been reported for sexual harassment. And the league is like opening an investigation. And Yurov's agent basically reaches out to Ava and is like, hey, you're pretty much the only one that has proof that this happened. Like, we need you. Can you like write a testimony and like kind of defend it? And so she writes up this like night, like, also shout out to Ava, because like she didn't have to do any of this. Like she could have just ignored it and gone about her day, but instead like advocated for Yurov and like was kind to him and like tried to get him out of the situation. Like,
thank God she's from Minnesota.
Yeah. And so she does all this, sends it to the league, and it goes, you know, it gets approved or whatever the process was. Like they took it as truth and figured out. So he was good to be drafted. Because of all that, like he fell down some draft boards. And he had talked about like he originally was potentially go to Buffalo, and then that both St. Louis and then Minnesota had talked to him. And so draft plays out basically, and he ended up getting drafted by the Wild. And he like from the draft floor DMs Ava and goes, "Did you tell the Wild to pick me?" And she basically laughs and goes, "I wish I had that much power, but like I'm totally stoked that you're on the team that I cheer for." So pretty cool, funny story all around. Like, obviously, if you see any, you know, should that resurface again, you have the truth. But again, the whole segment, Empty Netters Pod, we'll retweet it out on our account so you guys can go check it out. Really entertaining story. I think it got the key points, but you know, great that it happened, and you know, it allowed, you know, in the end, the Yurov to get to the Wild where they took him, and you know, now to hear it number 2 in our rankings, and of course tonight with the game-winning goal against the New York Rangers.
Gnarly story. Z, you know me, my brain always goes to like, what's the weird twist on this? Just imagine you are Danila Yurov. I am not suggesting this is the case because I do not believe this whatsoever, but how funny would it be if they were just both his accounts?
Be a crazy. It add a wrinkle. That's for sure.
like he has the side one and like tries to like pretend all sheepish, like, no, not me. Like, god damn, that if he was capable of that, I want him on my fucking team because that is a brilliant motherfucker. Again, that is not what he did, and I do not endorse weird people online just going around and asking for nudes. It's weird behavior in general. Like, what brings you to the point where you're like, yeah, I can just like hit people up and be like, please send me pictures. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bizarre
for sure. But
so now we're going to talk hockey though. Danila Yurov, our consensus number 2. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 8 rank him 2. We had another 3 and a 4 hanging out in there, but needless to say, this is a guy that we're extremely excited about. I gotta ask, because this is obviously before he like had done much here with the Wild when we did these rankings. For both of you, how much of this hinged on the development that, oh shit, he might be a center?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like that definitely factored in a little bit, but I just think
if you know he's a wing, is he still your 2?
I think so.
Okay.
And I think that's part of it. Like he can just kind of fit, like he just is so well-rounded. Like, and I think like you look at what makes like in this system, what makes Kaprizov and Boldy so good is they're well-rounded. Like, yes, they're lead offensively, but they're all like in terms of wingers in the NHL, like their underlying metrics, the way they can drive a line, like the type of hockey the Wild play, like it fits what a center like Danila Yurov can and should, and I think will do. I think like there's just, there's nothing that's necessarily extraordinary about his game, but he just does everything at like an elevated level. It's almost like a Jared Spurgeon, but on offense. Like you can kind of, if you want him to play left wing, center, wherever, if you need him to take draws, if you need him to score, you need him to pass, you can kind of do it all. And I just think like there's so much talent. He's proved it in a really good, the second best professional league in the world. He was a top scorer on a championship team. Like he's played in big moments. Unfortunately, we really have, due to the political climate, in Russia and the rest of the world, like we haven't got to see him at the World Juniors and kind of what he can do at international stage yet. But I'd imagine like had he been able to play in those World Juniors, he would have been, kind of the key piece, potentially a captain on those World Junior teams as well. So,
and we wouldn't have him.
Yeah, potentially not for sure. So I'm really excited for him. I think he's looking more and more confident with every game that he plays, which has to be expected. Like when your first taste of the NHL is the preseason, like we even saw for Rossi how big of a jump it was even from preseason to regular season in his rookie year. Like it's a big jump, and I think he's taken the ups and downs in stride so far. And I think the fact that he's still here shows the organization has a lot of belief in him. And gets elevated tonight and makes the most of it. So I think there's just so much to be excited for with him.
Yeah, and I think like people forget too, like how crazy his trajectory has been. Like he had the worst possible draft, like whatever I guess you call it, D-0, but draft season, humanly imaginable. Where like coming into his draft season as a draft -1 was a projected top 10 pick, probably close to like top 6. And that was before he was playing like any center whatsoever. Like he just had a ton of skill, played a really well-rounded game. Like the thing that like, obviously when you're leading up to the NHL draft, what are the highlights that like the NHL network's going to play? It's all your offense. He's always been an unbelievably solid defensive forward, but he also does have that skill in his bag. Like some of the plays that he was playing off in Russia were ridiculous. Then he goes in his draft year, makes his KHL team. I think he actually touched the ice maybe 11 times. Like I think he had like 8 games. I remember like it was like annoying because I've always loved the player since he was like a draft -2, like just how good he was. But I think like in his draft year, there were like 6 or 7 games where he had a total of like 22 seconds time on ice, but he would still have like 4 shot attempts. Whereas like if he touches the ice, the puck finds his stick. Like he is so smart. And again, like he is a really good player, but like he legitimately like probably played a total of 12 minutes of like pro hockey in his draft season, which was a major reason he fell. It was like the combination of that timing with like the whole Russia-Ukraine situation and just like Russia just basically being like obviously kicked out of every major tournament, all that. Like we didn't like there was like almost also like COVID was right after or right during COVID, I guess. So like they didn't even have a whole lot of NHL scouts over in Russia to begin with. So that was a big reason he fell as far as he did. There were always rumors about the off-ice thing, which we now know was what you just mentioned earlier, that story, which ended up being bullshit. But obviously, Wild take him where they take him and finally gets his minutes in his draft +1 year and is a top 6 center, which we had not really seen him play a whole lot of playing junior hockey. Winning faceoffs. Again, he's out there for almost their whole PK on the power play, putting up points. like his points per game, I think he either has the record for KHL minutes as like a under 18-year-old, 19-year-old. But like he can do a little bit of everything, but he does have that top end skill that just like sets him apart from a whole lot of players. But the thing with him is, again, like his two-way game is so advanced where like when you compare him with like Liam Ogren, if he gets 10 minutes on your like third, fourth line, mostly defensive shifts, he's able to still affect the game. Which is why like we're better off with, you know, Ogren going down to the AHL, playing top 6 minutes, being leaned on for all his offense. Meanwhile, like Yurov can chip in if he's playing 8 to 11 minutes. Again, I would like to see him, and like he got rewarded for it today, like playing more minutes. But he does have that upside. He plays a really good two-way game. Again, like, and then this is what I mentioned before you jumped on, Hoppy. Like even games where like he wasn't gonna get a ton of minutes or he was making a bunch of mistakes, and like people are like, oh, this isn't, like anyone that hasn't watched him forever or several years, he's like, oh, I thought this was a kid that was going to come in and like put a bunch of points or whatever. Even like games where he was struggling, you would still see the pro tendencies. Like he would make one little play with his stick, or he'd kill a rush before it started. Like he was always like, just watching him specifically, he always has, even in his games where he wasn't playing well, like made 1 or 2 plays that sticks out. And he plays a really mature game. Again, like he has a really solid floor, like a really super high floor, but he also has those flashes of like high end offense that make him such a special prospect. And again, like his trajectory, like his development and just like the path that he's taken to get here is very impressive, because he could have been absolutely buried in his draft season playing essentially no hockey. And then just given the whole Russia thing, like there was a real scenario where it's like this kid got fucked by like when his, like how old he is when he was going to get drafted, but he's made it here. He's in Minnesota. He's here to stay. And again, congrats to him for getting his first NHL goal tonight. Fucking hardworking goal. Again, part of that was making a little play, winning that fucking face off in the offensive zone when like the Rangers were pressing too. Like again, like tonight, the first period and a half, first 2 periods, Minnesota's all over.
I think the Johansson wraparound was like which he then scored on the rebound. I think that Johansson wraparound was like the first shot on goal in like 10 minutes of the third period.
Yep, it was. And then he finds himself like in the right spot where he's supposed to be. And again, like he wins that face off. So like he made a play that they needed him to make, and he gets rewarded for it with his first NHL goal. So I just think he's such a smart player. Again, like super high floor, and does have that high end skill too. So again, like I think he's got a long future in the NHL. I do think he's here to stay. I think it would be a mistake if they were to try to take him out of the lineup or whatever, because I think he can affect the game in your bottom 6, middle 6, whatever. Like I think he can fill in, but I think he's such like his hockey IQ is really high. So I'm a big fan of Yurov. And again, like just happy that he's here, because it's been a crazy roller coaster of a ride for him.
Yeah, and we haven't seen it yet in the regular season, but he was third among all wild forwards in the preseason on time on ice during the penalty kill. So played 6 minutes and 45 seconds in 6 games. That was only behind Rossi and Boldy, and Z and I talked about their performance so far in the PK this year. So they haven't used him in that spot yet, but I think the fact that he was able to do that in preseason, and I believe, let me double check, but I don't believe he was on the other team scored while he was killing at all in preseason, or maybe it was just once. Where are you? You're off. Nope, no goals against in those almost 7 minutes on the kill in the preseason. So preseasons you take with a grain of salt, but just the fact that he showed that ability to play on the kill, I think is another just layer. Like we've talked, how it's exciting to get more skilled players. Like you look back to when the Wild had Kevin Fiala killing penalties and he was a threat for breakaways. We've seen how effective Rossi and Boldy are at just taking away passing lanes, playing it differently. Like if you can now add a Danila Yurov in there, you have Nico Sturm, and then your third is like a Johansson and Hartman, or if it's Foligno, like all of a sudden your penalty kill, you got 3 units you feel pretty good about. His faceoffs are improving, so we can win some of those faceoffs on the PK. There's an additional layer there that makes him an even more valuable piece, because the Wild really haven't had another effective center on the penalty kill, unless you want to maybe throw Freddie Gaudreau in that mix. But I think he was kind of more average than good.
Yeah. And like, and just two more things on your too. Like, I think, let's say both him and Ogren are in the lineup. Danila Yurov playing 8 minutes versus Ogren's 8 minutes, 8 completely different minutes. Where it's just like you're looking for minutes to give to Ogren versus Yurov. He's going to be killing penalties. And if you have him in your bottom six or on your fourth line, like he's going to be chipping in, like he's going to play that defensive hockey. Like you can lean on him in certain situations. And I think just like with the type of player he is right now, like even if you want him to play more minutes, but like just given the contracts or like whatever the players that are like currently slotted, I think there's like bodes well for his career trajectory where like you can get he's going to play hard minutes right now. And as he continues to grow into the NHL game, as he continues to mature and play more NHL hockey, year after year, he's going to be like able to be elevated in your lineup more. So I think the bodes really well for him. So I think he's just in a good spot right now. And again, I hope they keep him in the lineup and just like continue to give him more opportunities, ask more of him. And I think he'll like grow into a really, really solid piece of the team this year.
Yeah. And with Rossi out, he did see almost 2 minutes of power play time tonight as well with that second unit. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't think Vinny Hinnistros is a lock to hold that spot. Same with Johansson, just for his puck carrying ability, probably is, but that's a spot I think that, I thought he looked good in those spots tonight. That's another spot he could potentially snag up here too. So a lot of opportunity for him. And it looks to me like he's starting to kind of see some of it with some big faceoffs, a goal, chipping in on special teams, like all the things that you want to see for sure.
Well, I don't know if anyone can guess at this point who the remaining player is.
Stevie Lescovar.
For Isha, it is.
Ice pick murderer of a fucking headshot last year.
Point
per game player.
Yes. With that, we just wrapped Danila Yurov number 2. Let's just go right to it. Everyone knows number 1, almost unanimously, aside from one Canadian idiot. The only reason Isha ranked him 2 is because he was just too good for Canada in World Juniors back-to-back years. Granted, USA didn't have to do that dirty work. They had a lesser nation do it for them. Zeev Buium, I mean, hand up again. I will admit, I think it was Micheletti that I went after, who's like, man, I really hope the Wild gets Zeev Buium. I think he'd be a great fit. And I'm like, dude, no fucking world that he is available at 13. A lot of people said it. I went after Micheletti though, because he was like, yeah, I really think this would be like who they should get. And I'm just like, in what world does he make it to 13? Granted, they traded up and got him at 12 because God bless Cutter Gauthier, who has to be my favorite player that I'll never actually care about, because if you're a Philadelphia Flyer draft pick who immediately says that your favorite player that you watched growing up was Sidney Crosby, and then subsequently force your way out of the team and then get Zeev Buium landed with the Wild because of it, bravo, Cutter Gauthier. I will never say a bad thing about you, my friend. We got him. We got Zeev Buium. Z, you had him ranked, I believe, number 4 on your big board for that draft?
I think so. That sounds right.
Feels right to me. I mean, you guys talked about him before we jumped in, but pretend that conversation never happened, because, again, we need to clip this separate for YouTube and for a podcast hit. Zeev Buium. How thrilled are we that we got him, and what are our early thoughts on how he's shaping up as a pro? And he is still 19.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I know you just joked about, but like, I don't even think the Wild thought that Zeev Buium was going to fall to them. Like, I think, Rucker McGroarty was nearly on this team. Like the Wild, I think from what I've heard from Russo's reporting, kind of was floated around that draft time, is the Wild were fully prepared to trade that pick to Winnipeg, I think straight up for Rucker McGroarty. And there was like, the caveat was like, unless the player they like falls. And sure enough, here came Zeev Buium, just falling. and comes to the Wild, and like just best case scenario, I think, didn't make a huge impact in the playoffs last year. I think started off preseason where you're kind of like, oh man, is he actually ready? And then I just think kind of since you've had that gut feeling, you've just seen nothing but improvement, confidence. We talked about the skating speed, like just the offensive creativity. Like he's got 5 points. I think are all of them on the power play. I think they all are on the power play. And like some might look as a knock, but like the Wild have had tons of players play with Kaprizov and Boldy in that unit. Like Faber obviously had his highest output of his career getting first line minutes on the power play, but he was never doing the things that we're seeing from Bouillon. Just his ability to move laterally, like his ability to skate the puck up the ice, to just make like these little nifty passes into space. Like, I mean, you could maybe argue Brent Burns, but I would argue they've never had, even at his current level, a guy on the power play with his ability to quarterback. Like they're just, no one's come, I don't even think close.
Weird. What number is he?
Yeah, he's number 8.
Dude, hang on. Imagine 10 years from now, full ass caveman beard.
It'd be kind of funny, but
it'd be great.
Yeah, and like I just think like obviously there's been some defensive warts. I think there's a lot of people at this moment in time that would point to his plus minus, like, oh, he's a minus whatever, he's like a 7 or an 8. And I think 4 of those have been empty net goals. Like that shows he's being trusted, put out there, and it's a 6-man effort to present empty netter, and there's no goalie. Like you're gonna get scored on sometimes in those situations. So like I'm not like there hasn't been like a lot of like glaring defensive mistakes. Like I think he's actually made some really good plays getting back on the rush. There was a play, I think, in the second period tonight where the Rangers kind of had this odd man rush, and Bouillon had been in the offensive zone, gets back on the back check, catches, it was a 2-on-1. He kind of was neck and neck with the Rangers guy, but moves himself into position to get himself between the goaltender and the puck and lifts the guy's stick. And the Rangers guy with the puck shoots it far side on Gustafsson, where it hits his pad and comes back out from the net. If Bouillon's not there, doesn't make that back check, doesn't take that stick away, it might be a tap and rebound. And it didn't really get brought up on the broadcast, but I saw it in real time. I was like, that was a really, really good play by Bouillon. And I think like using that speed to his advantage, and like I think the Wild are going to be smart with his minutes. Like they're going to, especially at home, if there's an offensive zone faceoff and you can get Bouillon out there with the Kaprizov line, they're probably going to do that every single time. But I just think there is so much raw offensive skill here. Like, I don't want to compare him to the league's best, but like I do believe a Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, like elite, true number 1 offensive defenseman is in his range of outcomes. Especially to see that he's doing this at just 19 right now is nuts.
Yeah, and quick side comment, guys. Maybe I've just been oblivious this whole time, but I'm pretty sure Isha either snuck in here or enlisted Mateo as a sidekick and literally put up the feed from the comment section to cover up his number 2 ranking after I chirped him for it. I have not seen that up this entire stream, and it is now there. You dirty Canuck son of a bitch, Isha. Well done. Mateo has confirmed Isha did it. Like, well done. Like, that next level, Isha, the amount of things that you can't figure out, but that one you just like ninja'd the shit out of us. Well done. Z, go off on it. Is it rude for us to just refer to him as Little Z in honor of Big Z?
I think when they actually took him, I did say there's been a lot of opportunities where people are like, you have to change your
at to Spoke Z
Twitter name.
Yeah,
I think I
Russo even mention it.
He may have. He may have.
If he goes full caveman beard, you have no choice.
Yeah, he has to be Spoke.
I don't know.
Spoke Z.
I might have to Spoke Z. But before you jumped on, Brett and I were talking. Actually, I think you were backstage. Yeah, but like just watching him the first 7 games here, the confidence that he's playing with now, like realistically, since he scored that goal was against Columbus, Now he looks more than comfortable with the puck at the blue line, pressure all over him. He's still looking like just keep it, make the right pass, or just like skate out himself, or like skate like right after the Rangers scored a minute into the fucking game tonight. Next shift, he comes out, has the puck. He's like literally standing on like his heels and still just like jukes out a defender, skates him wide, and creates a high danger scoring chance like right away. Like, I think that's the stuff that we saw over and over again at Denver, where it's just like he looks comfortable with the puck. He wants the puck. Like, anytime he's like tapping a stick on the ice, like I'm like, okay, he's feeling it. He wants it. Give him the fucking pill. But I mean, like, we obviously we know, like, we just look at the production in college hockey, ridiculous. People always like just throw small out there. Like, he's 6 foot, like he's 6 foot, 6'1". Like, I think anytime there's an offensive defenseman that gets drafted, they're like, he's a small guy, like he's never able to play in the NHL. Dude, he's like 6 foot, 6'1", and like he's also just like a solid defender off the rush. Like, again, like as he continues to bulk up and get stronger, like even like that in zone defense is going to continue to improve. But he is that high end player on the back end of the Minnesota Wild haven't really had. And I remember, I feel like Brett, you were with us before talking about this power play where it's like, what is it going to look like with a guy like Z Bouillon on the back end? And we talked about how like they're going to have a lot more like cycle opportunities. And I went back and I was pretty sure his first NHL point was in that fucking game 3 against Vegas. And I like watched that power play again, and it's like just him and Kaprizov just like literally skating in 2 circles around the offensive zone, and Kaprizov wires in from the point. But the mobility, the high end offense, he's incredibly smart. And again, just the fact he's playing 20 minutes a night right now. People, again, like you said, people are looking at the plus minus. You have to look at context there. The fact that he's even on the ice, like chasing a goal, like that says something too.
Yeah.
He's such a fucking high-end hockey player. Again, like people are going to throw out like the always all offense. He really isn't, but they're leaning on him for offense because they basically had nothing from their back end forever. But I love
there will be
Kalen.
0 Kalen Addison erasure.
There it is.
How dare you?
Yeah. Well, so he's getting the runway that Addison never had. But like at the same time, again, I think he is going to be a crucial part of this team's success this year and moving forward. And again, right now, the fact that he's playing with as much confidence as he is, like seemingly every game, like he is just hanging on to the puck more often, and like not necessarily just like making bad decisions with it because he's being selfish. Like he literally just like feeling it, and he knows he's as good as he is. Would have liked to have seen him get more rope last year in the playoff. Like they kind of yanked him immediately. Again, like basically, understandably, like Vegas is Vegas. Like it's always gonna be a tough ask for a young kid.
Being 18 years old and your introduction to the NHL is playoffs against the Vegas Golden Knights. Like if you want to be thrown into the fire, thrown to the wolves, like that is as close as you can get, I think.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And again, like pair that with the fact that like, again, who was the last defenseman that came in right away from college hockey? It was Brock Faber. Like we've talked about this with like the expectations for these kids coming in. But I think right now he's playing with a ton of confidence, looks really good with the puck. I think he's going to change his power play, obviously. I think he's at 5 points now, 7 games.
Yeah.
But it's just he's unbelievable. Like he is such a good fucking. I found the tweet too. The Twitter page, bench rates. They put out like how much of. So they tweeted out. What was it exactly? How to word it? I'm gonna pull it up. Top NHL defenseman by on-ice offensive contribution on October 19th, based on their contract, and he's number 6. Like he is just like out there.
I think with ELCs though,
giving them offense.
Like,
oh yeah, well he's right up there with like Nikishin, Morrissey, Werenski, Makar, Gostisbehere. Gostisbehere, by the way, has been absurd, but either way, what he means to the team is like he is going to be crucial for their success, especially as like their 5-on-5 offense. Like they got a couple of goals tonight, obviously, thank God. But as they're injured here, they're so reliant on that power play. He's gonna be a huge piece of this early on, which like also again bodes well like long term. Like he has been thrown a ton of responsibility as a young player, like relied on as a defenseman to do the most difficult thing to do in the league now is like score. So like I don't know. I'm just very impressed with his start and the progression, just like game after game. And I just love the confidence he's playing with right now. And he looks just like comfortable. Like I mean, the first few games he looked a little tentative, not quite sure. But clearly, I think the coaching staff has his ear. It's just like, yo, just go play. Like you're good, go do it. And I think he's really like grabbing the reins now. So he's gonna be a huge part of this team's offense from the back end. And I think he's just gonna continue to grow here. So big fan of Zeev. Still can't believe they got him. I just pulled it up, by the way. I had him 6th.
You had him 6?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I pulled it up.
Who did you have ahead of him?
Celebrini 1, Demidov 2, Katten 3, Lindstrom 4, Levshunov 5, Bulliam 6.
I swore you. Okay. Fair enough. 6 is still 6.
I think on draft day, I think I did.
You mocked him at 6. I thought you ranked him at 4. I don't know. Okay.
And I pulled up a random Google Doc that said final rankings, but I think I changed it.
You had like 7 final rankings, so who knows? But big thing for me, because there's not much else I can say about how sick of a player this guy is. I want to know if the power play has been unlocked because he's there, or if there has been a philosophical change that made that happen. Like did they just need the right defenseman to actually have the movement that they do, right? Because it's not just that, he quarterbacks it well. Everyone is moving, cycling, shifting, and that's what you need for an effective power play. They have been so locked in and rigid and stay in my little quadrant of the power play by and large forever. And yes, I think Zeev plays a part in that no matter what, but like how much of that is the players waking up and being like, no, like we're gonna not just like sit still and pass the puck around. Maybe that would work.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely it. He's a huge part of it. I think, teams in the past, like I love, I was a big fan of Calen Addison. I've been a big fan of Jared Spurgeon. I love Brock Faber, but like they're not the threat that Bulliam is at the top of your power play. Like we saw this first goal, like they gave him an opportunity to shoot. He took it and he scored. Like you have,
and it was a good shot too. Like this is, we're not talking Axel Sandin Pellikka, who I love, by the way. He should be a Pittsburgh Penguin. That's a different story. But like his like deflects off a leg, bounces, bobbles in, and he's going nuts. This was a big time, big boy, change your diaper goal.
Mm-hmm. And then, so not only do you have to respect him as a shooter, but we talked about his lateral skating ability, his ability to find the soft pass. Like the Wild haven't had a defenseman who can, with the offensive IQ that he has. I mean, you have to put so much respect up top, and now you have Kaprizov and Boldy to deal with, and you have an immovable object in front of the net in Joel Eriksson-Ek. Like, that's a big problem for a lot of teams because you have 3 guys you're trying to guard. Your goalie's trying to look through Eriksson-Ek. You have Boldy, Kaprizov, and Zeev Bulliam just skating circles around you until they find a quick give and go and create an odd man rush, in the offensive zone. It's so hard to defend. And I think like that's been the missing element for the Wild. That's what we've seen them try 5 forwards before, is they haven't had a defenseman with that ability. And Bulliam just brings all of that to the table. And the fact that it's already working this early on, like when you think about just how that can continue to grow, not only through this season, but through beyond. I mean, to me, that's the most exciting part, is just the element he's going to add to the power play is just, it's going to be nuts.
Yeah. And I think the biggest question that hangs out there, thinking more long-term, was Zeev. And I know, Z, you and I have talked about this in the past, but it's been a little bit. Side question, I guess, that leads into it. For both of you, in your lifetime, what is the best NHL team? Like, what is the best Stanley Cup champion that you have watched? Because I have it's not even up for discussion for me.
Yeah.
I'm saying, who is your biggest, who is the best champion in your lifetime?
Man. Just in hockey or all around?
I'm saying Stanley Cup.
Stanley Cup. Oh man. I'd need more time to think about that, I think.
Z, do you got one?
Like that I was alive for, that I was too young at the time.
That you both would have watched this Stanley Cup. But it's also not like a quiz. Like, I'm curious what you guys think to see if there's one that hangs out that's different than the one I have picked out.
The Avalanche.
A one, or
I go back and forth between Ray Bork's Avalanche, his cup, and then the most recent one. That was a fucking demolition.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 01 Avalanche for sure.
That was the first one that I got jacked up for sure.
Yeah, I gotta look back.
All right. Well, my answer, zero hesitation, I will debate anyone on this topic, is 2007.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Anaheim Ducks, me and my buddy who was good at hockey, but
illegal pads.
He gave zero fucks about hockey.
No, that was 03.
We are playing. Yeah, that was 03. Let's be clear. No
illegal pads in 07.
Yeah, no illegal pads.
1507.
We got the new NHL game, and we're sitting there playing in my basement. We're looking at the roster. We're like, what the fuck? How is this legal? What is going? That was the start of. I had about a decade-long run of making good money off of my dad putting bets in for me in Vegas on futures. That Anaheim Ducks team was the most obvious lock in the world for me. And the reason I bring them up for this question, I've never seen a better 1-2 punch on the blue line than Niedermayer and Pronger. Granted, not the same players, not the same profile, even though we did actually have Craig Button compare Zeev Buium to Niedermayer. That's beside the point. Long term, do you want Buium and Faber to unite for the mega pairing, or do you want to see them split apart? I think you know my answer based on the 2007 Ducks, but I'm curious what you two think.
It's hard for me to give an answer without knowing who the fourth defense in the top four would be. In an ideal world, it's Faber, Jiricek, Buium, and who else? I don't know. So I lean right now that maybe that's a situational pairing or like a home ice type of pairing. I think you're better off to spread them out a little bit more. Like maybe your non-Buium pairing is probably with Faber. That's more of your shutdown pairing. And then your Buium pairing is a little bit more of your, hey, go push the pace offensively. Let's get you out there with the top line type of stuff. But at the same time, like those two together could be incredibly fun. And a lot of teams wouldn't like facing it. So like, I don't necessarily think there's a bad option there as long as the other guys, you have good faith in those guys. Like we talked about Jiricek, we believe he has potential to be a good top four, like plays good defensively, can bring you some offense. So there's potential there. Maybe it's a Damon Hunt even. Like I don't know. I
think I realistically let's say like right. So like that's the thing, right? Like I don't think we necessarily have like anyone in the pool currently that we could confidently be like, yeah, that would be the other player on either that first, second pair. Like realistically, if they were to ice a fucking like U25 fucking like NHL lineup right now, like the top 4D, like in Minnesota was like Buium, Jiricek, Lambo with fucking Faber. That would probably be the closest that Minnesota has right now, currently, like as far as players they've drafted the last like several years. But like realistically, like most likely, like let's say this is a cup challenging team moving forward, like it's not going to be a player. It's probably not going to be a player they drafted. Like that's going to be the other person on that top pair. Specifically, like I just look at the other guys. Like, is it Jiricek a top pair guy? Nope. Unless Faber or unless Buium turns into like this fucking like 32-minute a night like all world defenseman along with that like borderline point per game offense. like I mean, I don't feel like
is it weird to say? I don't even know if the Wild want that. Like, is that a weird thing to say?
Right. I think right. Like that's the thing too. So like I think if those two were to play together, you're probably playing them both. Like that pair is playing what, like fucking almost 30 minutes a night, and you really don't want that. You're muted, I think. I think he's muted.
Yeah.
I think he's muted. He doesn't know. He is muted.
Are we muted too?
Nope. Just
Jeff,
you.
Very muted. Very muted. So that brings the philosophical question to head, right? I'm not necessarily saying, oh, who should they each be paired with? I'm more saying, do you want both of them on the ice for 25 to 30 minutes together, like no holes pairing, or do you want to flip it and have one of them on the ice for pretty much the whole game, which was
I'm pretty happy with either. That's the thing. I'm happy with either one of those outcomes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's a real scenario where, like, if you look at the other defensemen again that they have right now, whether it's in their pool or just like current players, like I would imagine they'd be like, we want to go sign someone or trade for someone anyways. But like if those two are on the ice for half the game, like there's a good, like you're gonna be putting up solid offense. Also, ideally, realistically, you're probably gonna have the puck the whole fucking time anyways. Like if you have the puck half the game with those two on the ice. That was like kind of a thing that they, again, just being someone from Boston that's like watched this team forever here. That was when whoever Bergeron's line mates were, and then it was like Chara with fucking Seidenberg on the ice. It was just like you have the puck literally the whole fucking time. And like their expected goals when those guys were out there was comical. Like it was like 68%. Like the 2014 team, it was ridiculous. But I don't know. I think like again, like if you have both those guys in the ice at the same time, you're probably gonna have the puck the whole time. And I think there's enough players they have right now that like even if you have like 50% expected goals, scoring chances going the other way, like you're probably okay. But if you can split them up, even better, obviously.
That's absolutely my preference.
And they're going to be playing together like in certain shifts too. Like they're going to be on the ice. That's the other thing too. Whenever we talk about like matchups, especially or like D pairs or even just like offensive line combos, like it's not like it's like a uniform thing where it's like all three are off the ice at the same exact time. Both guys are off the ice at the same exact time. Like it's not, you know what I mean? Like there's really gonna be like situational things where like there's gonna be times where like they have to shut it down and like look for it. Like if it's like a 2-2 game late, they're probably both gonna be on the ice.
Right. Especially when you have a lefty and a righty. Like you're not have two lefties, two righties. Like it's easier to put two guys opposite hands. Because on the blue line, that matters a lot more just with where passes go, with your ability to hold the zones and all that different stuff. Like it makes more difference. I think it makes a lot more difference on lefty, righty versus like left wing, right wing. So
the fact that they both also have a track record to play like 30 minutes. Just like they're like, yeah, we would love to be out here for 45. Like, we could like just keep us out here. We don't care.
That'd be very funny.
It's a good point from Veach, by the way, when you were muted, because I could tell that was a great point from
Scott. I saw it. I was gonna ignore it.
Hey, Veach is buzzing. How about those fucking Bulldogs, dude?
Dude, he is buzzing. He's shout out Veach. He's gonna be in the Gopher press box this weekend because I got a kid popping any day here. So he's representing and I'll probably not be invited back because I'm sure he'll do some inappropriate things if the Bulldogs have a game. But yes. All right. Well, that wraps the prospect top 20 list. Extensive. Took us 4 weeks to get through all of it, but we finally did. With that, I know, Brett, you got to dip out here in a second. I know Mateo's going to flip over some of the graphics, but we actually were able to wrangle in Simon. Going to jump on here in a second once Mateo flips things around. And he has decided that Brett is done. I like it. Simon, what's going on, man?
Hey there. Great to be here.
Great to have you, man. Appreciate all of the support. 7 months strong. Now, just blanket question. How do you feel about the Minnesota Wild?
A lot better after tonight. After watching that Capitals game, had me a little down, but tonight I think they looked great, and I think this is definitely a playoff team and a team that can make noise in the playoffs. So I think in general I'm feeling pretty positive right now.
Simon, tell me, what does noise mean to you? Does that mean they are truly competing in the first round? Does that mean they make it past the first round? Like, what is noise?
Yeah, I think that they have the ability to get past the first round. I think this team has the talent. I think they have, once they kind of figure out, obviously you're still early in the season, you're moving guys around, whether we're going to stick with Kaprizov and Boldy together up top, we're going to split them up to get some of that scoring lower. I think this team does have the talent, and when they really find their groove, they've already looked great. I've liked how many shots on net they're getting. I do think this team can get past the first round. Will they? That's the question Minnesota Wild fans have been asking themselves for years now. But do I think they're a true Stanley Cup contender? Probably not. But do I think that they can go further than they have the last several years? I do.
Yeah, they could fuck around and find out for sure. So that's a lot of optimism. Tell me, like, what, if anything, gives you the most pause in everything you just said?
I'm worried about I will say Tarasenko so far has concerned me. I was higher on him when we did make the move. I thought he could get back to form. I think he still can. It's been not the fastest start for him, but I think the question is, you have your established guys in Kaprizov and Boldy and Gus in that, and we have a good decor. It's who's going to step up in the offense, either the vets or the young guys. And I loved seeing Yurov step up tonight because I think that's huge, especially with Rossi out. And ideally, it's some combination of both. If we can get scoring out of your Yurovs and Buyums, and also out of your Hartmans and Johanssons, that's awesome. But if either one of those, or especially if both of those are lacking, that's when you get into that worry territory with secondary scoring.
That's fair. Anything that's like top of mind for you right now, whether it's stuff you've seen people arguing about online, or call us out if there's stuff you think we've talked about where we're way off, or things you want to get more into, like anything you want to just like debate, discuss as it relates to the Minnesota Wild.
I think the number one thing that comes to mind for me is that I do definitely understand what you guys were kind of talking about with the flexibility with Ogren and wanting to have him get time at Iowa. I agree with that. I agree with it less for Jiricek. I think we need to give Jiricek some run. I know he hasn't looked great at some of his times. I do know that Bogosian looked pretty good the games he played. But I think if you want Jiricek to be one of the future pieces of this defense, you kind of just got to say, we're going to give him at least 15 or 20 games to see what he can do. And if it's not working, you got to figure something else out. You got to pivot. But I would be, if I were, Hines or Billy G, I would be keeping Jiricek starting just about every game.
That's reasonable.
Like
Z,
that.
You got anything?
No. Yeah, we like that. We need the Jiricek. We need the young fellas. Let them cook. Let them play. I think that's what we talked about earlier with Jiricek too. Like, I don't even care who he's playing with. Just let him play. Let him make those mistakes. Let him play through it. I think that's the only way he's going to learn at this point in his career too. So I'm a big fan of that. I'm trying to think too. I would love to know, just as people who we get fucking very funny tweets sent at us about how we're dumb. Is there specific things that you disagree with strongly with us? Because I would love to fucking just iron these out sometimes with people where I'm like, I don't know what the sometimes I get yelled at. I'm like, I think we're saying the same thing.
And to be clear too,
if not, that's fine.
I would argue that we don't even have feelings. Like, our feelings can't be hurt. As long as you don't come and tell me that Kalen Addison should be burned at the stake, we're cool.
Yeah, we're good, dude.
No, I am fully with you on the Kalen Addison. There is still a piece of my heart that believes that Kalen Addison is going to work out.
I don't believe it anymore. I believe that he should have if he was given the proper runway like we're talking about with Juracek.
Yeah. No, I mean, I got to say, Isha putting Ogren over Bouillon is certainly something. That is...
You know what?
Did not see that coming.
That 100%. I am just thrilled it wasn't Stevie Lescovar. That's all I need, because what was the bit for a couple of years? It was first off, and he literally just did it because he was first. Isha takes this 90% seriously, and then he has to do something because he thinks that it's gonna make for a fun talking point. Ogren at 1 is very, very tame for Isha, so we're okay with it. And you are 100% right to criticize that ranking. So
yeah, I would say the only other thing, and I don't even know that I fully disagree with it, but I thought having, I don't remember who it was, but having Stramel as high as they did, I think that's a spot to plant your flag. That's you're putting your name on that, and whether it works out or not, that's a take. I don't even know that I disagree with it. I'd love to see Stramel succeed. I like the start that he's off to this year. I think point per game so far. But that's what's your thinking behind that? I didn't catch that part of the prospect rankings.
Yeah, and it's tough, and I know Z echoes a lot of what I'll say here, but he can expand on it if he wants. But for me, it's tough doing these prospect rankings because it's a bit of a moving target with what my rationale is. Like, some guys I'm picking because of the ceiling. Some guys I'm picking because of the floor. Some guys I'm picking because of just, hey, I know they're an NHLer, and that's the Charlie Stramel bit for me. Last year when we did this, I had him ranked low teens. He was probably like 12 or 13. And I pretty much said, this is the year. He's out of Wisconsin. No more bullshit. He's either going to show me that he's a surefire NHL prospect, or that I should just stop paying attention like everyone online says. He went out and did the fucking thing. He's already showing this year that he's going to keep doing the thing, but it's just, he has a place on this team. He will be an impactful player. Is he going to go out and score 30 goals? Probably never in his career. But is he going to go out and play meaningful minutes and contribute in every aspect of the game? Yep. At least that's how I feel right now. So me putting him at 5 in my top 20 list was knowing that he is part of this team, period. Whereas there's a lot of other guys where if their ceiling hits, they're better players than Charlie Stramel. My son within this pool is Riley Heidt. I love him. If he hits a ceiling, he is a better player than Charlie Stramel. His floor is a lot lower than Charlie Stramel's, and that's why I've got him. I think I had Height at 7. I think 7 is what I had him. I'll go back and double check that. But yeah, so I absolutely understand people pushing back on it, especially because Wallstedt was the one that fell victim to it. Again, I really, really liked what I saw from Stramel, and with the way that people online just absolutely bashed this kid when he got drafted, begged for Gabe Perreault, and now Gabe Perreault, like, we still don't know, like, where is his fit in the NHL? There's definitely a part of me that feels the need to defend Charlie Stramel, but after last year, like, it's not even that. Like, I'll say that's a 10% factor. Like, I just believe this kid is a no shit bottom 6, probably third line center long term in the NHL.
I'd love it. I'd love it both for, for the story of, being that kind of hated on when he first got picked and come out, and if he can provide value, and then also, you just got to cheer for the Minnesota kids when they're coming up through the system.
For sure. And hand up, I was surprised when they made the pick.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Z, you had him when we did your mock like a week and a half prior. I think you had him at like 28, 29. And there are a lot of people that are like, who the hell is this guy? Like, earlier in that year, if we did the way too early rankings, you would have had him at like, what, 10?
Yeah, I mean, he was coming into the draft season, he was a top 15 pick. Like, just terrible situation for him to end up at Wisconsin, like not playing, getting hurt,
Terrible
getting hurt
situation for
again.
anyone that up was in Wisconsin for any reason.
Yeah, if he doesn't have the AARP card. Yeah, I mean, like, again, like just watching him forever, like, again, like watch this kid play since he's like 14, 15 years old. Like, he has this big kid, plays an NHL style game, super physical, like to the point where like you had to like reel him in a little bit. Like, he would snap quite like too easy. Like, it was at the point where it's like, yeah, we'd love that you have that like short wick, but like you have to like reel it in a little bit here. But he also had the skill, and like the kid that skates as well as he does at his size and plays well defensively as he does, and then he'd like add in like he does have the skill. He just like never really had an opportunity before Michigan State to like show it off. I mean, like, again, super high floor with flashes of high end offense. Again, like, is he going to hit high end offense in the NHL? No. Like, they're never going to ask him to do that. But I think he can fill a ton of roles in an NHL lineup. And it's not a guy that you're like, his whole career is going to like be like an 8-minute a night guy. He's going to be able to chip in solid minutes, relieve all of your other forwards of some of those hard minutes too. But like, we've seen what he can do offensively now that he's been given that rope at Michigan State. And like, I think the second game against BU this weekend was his first game this year. He didn't put up at least 1 point. But I think even then he still finished like a +2. Like, he's just like a solid all-around player, super high floor, but he has flashes of the offense. So I think like he's just gonna be a really solid NHL player. I think he's gonna be a guy that like whenever Michigan State season ends, they can kind of like see what he's got. And again, you're not gonna be asking a whole lot from him outside of just like come in, play a couple shifts, see what you can do. Like, he's gonna bang bodies, he's gonna defend well, and like he is just like fun to watch from the standpoint of like he's gonna hit everything that fucking moves. Like, he really is like
he's
like
an episode
he's
without
Billy
mentioning the
G's.
Gruba hit, can we?
Yeah,
is that
the
possible?
Gruba hit is that was a murder. But especially considering Tom Wilson killed a guy this week, and then like they reviewed it, no penalty. It was like, poor Heedle, Jesus Christ. But like, I think especially knowing Billy G, knowing the way that he wants this team to play, like Charlie Strabel is just like his perfect player. And again, like, it's not just this big dude that hits everything that moves. That, yeah, sure has hands. Like, he can move. Like, he's a solid skater for a guy his size. So, and like watching him win pucks, like even when he's not just like absolutely laying someone out in the forecheck, he is really good at just coughing pucks up, creating offense that way too. So I think he's just solid. So big fan of Stramel. If he can, like, this year, the big jump I want to see is just like if he can do it with the processing speed, kind of like make passes, make feed. That's going to take his offense to a whole other level too. So I don't know. We love Charlie Stramel here. Always have, always will, and I think he's gonna be a really solid NHL player whenever he gets here.
Yeah. And if you want a second to think about anything else that's top of mind, Simon, I got a couple just like more basic questions because I'm always curious to hear from a fan's perspective.
I got to take a piss. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you go piss. You're good. This could be the same answer. It could be different teams, but who do you personally view as the Wild's biggest rival, and who is the team you hate most?
That's a good question. I mean, for both answers, for me, it's between Winnipeg and Chicago.
Okay.
Vegas gets close in the who you hate most for me. They might be there. They might be 3. I feel like right now, just with the lack of talent in Chicago, it's been Winnipeg.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I do think a good Minnesota team and a good Chicago team will have a good rivalry. I really do. And I think at a certain point when Chicago comes out of their rebuild, hopefully it's not for several years, I think it'll get back to that being the biggest rival. But I'd be tempted to say that Winnipeg is the biggest rival right now, just based off of the intensity of those games, the amount of drama that can come with those games, whether it's with Hartman or Stanley. I think they're probably number 1 right now.
That's very reasonable. And yeah, as far as team you hate the most, for me, it's not even team. Because I guess you could like split that even further, like parse it to the team you hate and the fan base you hate. I've never really hated the Blackhawks as a team. I despise their fan base. Despise them. I went to a college that like was almost 50% sourced from the greater Chicagoland area, which like if you live an hour outside of Chicago, they'll tell you they live in Chicago. But the amount of people that are like diehard lifelong fans and couldn't tell you a single thing about the team before Kane and Taves showed up, like I wrote that fan base off so fast. And there are exceptions. There are always exceptions. There's the 10% extreme on both sides that kind of get the most shine when most people kind of fall somewhere in the middle. But I will always despise the fan base of Chicago. I don't know that I've ever hated the team. Whereas, like, I feel like Winnipeg fits that mold way more. The Blues fit that mold for me quite a bit. And Dallas too, but like I would never call Dallas a quote unquote rival because we're their bitch. In fairness, but I don't know, Z, you're not a quote unquote like Wild fan. Like obviously you cover the team and you still care about them and support them. But outside looking in, like who is the biggest rival for the team? And then I want to pose it to you too, just in general, who is the team you hate the most? Aside from being a Wild sport, like I don't care if it's Boston related. I don't care if it's just general. I fucking hate these people. Yes. Beach, Naperville Truth or Naper Thrill.
I mean, like, I don't know. I think with Minnesota specifically, rivalry wise, I think every Winnipeg game ends up being a fucking war. But they played Dallas a couple times in the playoffs. It's one of those two, probably. Like going back before this current era, it would have been like maybe like St. Louis, Chicago. Chicago was just like a bully, like from like what 20.
Yeah, that was never a rivalry.
Until like 20.
They owned us.
It was just mean, but like the highlights for like the home games that they won against the Blackhawks, like early 2010s, were electric. But the team I hate the most is probably Vegas, dude. I just can't fucking stand those motherfuckers. And I just like
hate them and love them for existing. We needed a villain.
I love their approach to like hockey, but I hate them. Like I love that. Like we'll fucking send anyone away. We don't give a fuck.
We're
gonna sign you. Yeah, we're gonna draft you like top 15, and we'll trade you 8 minutes later. We're gonna sign you and then trade you immediately. Like we don't care. Hey Pietrangelo, you're gonna retire now. Actually, he's like, what? Okay. I thought I was gonna get at least like 3 more minivan deals.
No, now he needs the conversion van.
Yeah, but I think that's like. I'm trying to think of other like what other. I'm trying to think of like teams that they've played the last few years, Minnesota specifically, where it's just like ends up being a complete and utter shit show.
I think like Vegas falls in that category. I think
now Vegas might be right there with the last playoff too.
Totally. Physicality, I do think that Winnipeg is the team just because that's where the injuries have come about. And then you've got the Superman punch from Foligno. You've got I think my favorite thing of that rivalry is the Hartman trying to get caught on the wire from Perfetti. That was very fun. I think if we go like historically, Avalanche absolutely have to be there. It's just like of late, it hasn't been much of a conversation because they've just been that good. And we also haven't met up with them in the postseason. The one that's fun for me going back, and this is going back further, there was a stretch where there was a lot of hate with the Ducks when they were good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was a physical, gritty, like no fucks given postseason rivalry that carried into the regular season and got very fun. It faded obviously because of both teams standing, but I don't know. For me, it's hard to not think Chicago, Winnipeg, St. Louis in any order, depending on just the year and what's unfolding. And the Chicago one, it is very funny that Chicago Blackhawks fans just felt the need to tell the world how bad Brock Faber is during the Calder race.
Oh, it was even like more than just during the Calder race, because I can't remember, but I want to say it was during the Four Nations last year. I mean, he was like, Faber looked good during Four Nations, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I'm a Wild fan,
Bedard
obviously.
played pretty well in that too, didn't he?
Yeah, but I just remember seeing, like, you know, a lot of Blackhawks fans kind of giving him shit and saying that he wasn't living up to the role that he should be playing, that he was, you know, shouldn't have been on the team, and I found that crazy.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I think
No, it was like playing, but yeah, he was like playing with like Slavin. It was those two. It's like we're giving up nothing.
Unfair.
Like,
I would do very horrible things to get Slavin here. That would be too good. All right, this one we can kind of roundtable too, but I'm always curious to hear from people. And the first two can be the same technically, but like, who is your favorite Wild player ever? And if it is a pretty big name, I want you to give me a deep cut. Give me a guy that's like not a big name as your like hidden gem kind of guy. So you can have a separate one there, or it could be the same guy. And then I kind of want to know a player that you irrationally hate. It doesn't have to be current. It can be historical, but like, I feel like everyone's got like the player that it's like, I shouldn't hate them, but I do.
Yeah.
Go in any order you want.
Yeah, I mean, so I obviously I've been a Wild fan all my life, but I really started paying closer attention like, you know, 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
So I do have a more modern view on it. I would say, you know, favorite. It's that's tough. I have a feeling, and this is like getting ahead of myself. Buium, I think, is gonna be my favorite.
Sure.
He will be eventually. I was fully on the Buium trade. I was telling people, you know, if we get into the lottery, there's a good chance, you know, maybe we move up and we can get Buium. I've been Team Buiums for a while. But I also I love watching Jared Spurgeon play. It's so enjoyable to watch a guy who's that smart and who works that hard. He will, you know, he will always be one of my favorites, just because I think he shows what true effort and you know, I know grit is a word that the Wild throw around a lot, but I think his style of play, well, it's not physical, it's gritty. He does what he needs to do every time that he's out on the ice. Deep cut. I mean, man, I like I said earlier, I loved Calen Addison. Like I was so in on Calen Addison. I said it to my dad all the time. He still gives me crap about it. He was my guy when he was in the system. I was all talking up how great he was going to be. So yeah, I think Spurgeon's a good one for like a favorite guy, with the caveat that Buium will become my favorite guy in probably not too long.
Nice. No, that's very fair. Z, I think I already know your answer, but who is your favorite Wild player ever?
You think you know?
I do.
Brodeen.
Yeah. The jersey that you've had behind you forever. The guy that you say, that's the reason that I ever paid attention to the boring ass Wild.
Nope, that's not why.
I did pivot that too, but you've never called them boring. You always rebelled against the idea that
not even that. The reason I actually even started paying attention to the Wild from the jump in the first place is a deeper cut than that, dude.
Oh, all right.
My guy. My boy, dude. The one, the only. Shootout, slap shot, breakaway specialist.
Oh no. Wow, he's like an honorable mention for my irrational hate players.
What? Hold on.
He's a great player. Again, it's irrational hate for a reason. I am acknowledging that it's irrational. I did not like him.
Brian Rolston.
Today, I would appreciate the hell out of the Brian Rolston clap bomb on the shootout. at the time, I hated it. I fucking hated it. I don't know why. I didn't like it.
So, okay. So, favorite all-time Wild player, Jonas Brodin. Deep cut favorite player of all time. The reason I started paying attention to the Wild more than any other team other than the Bruins, Brian Rolston. Favorite player that was briefly, actually, I guess he was here for a couple of years. Danny Heatley, funniest fucking player
Very
of all time.
funny existence.
Love him to death. And it's so easy for me to pick the player that I've hated, still hate, will always hate, will never like, was disgusted when Minnesota got him. Fucking Matt Cook. Fuck him. Fuck his whole fucking life. Hate him. Despise him with a passion that burns, that especially is ignited because he ended Mark Savard's career, basically. Hate him forever, which is funny because actually that ties me and you together. But I fucking hate that he ever put on the fucking Minnesota Wild jersey. Then yeah. So favorite player that like isn't actually my favorite player, but I love that he played for Wild. Danny Heatley, favorite player of all time. Jonas Brodin, love Brian Rolston. The reason I listened to or started paying attention to the Wild after the lockout. And then Matt Cook, fuck him.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who would say that. I think Ottawa's got you trumped on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, the fucking stepping on Carlson's Achilles. Yeah, that'll do it.
Well, Z, let's see if you can recall. Trivia question. Who is my favorite Minnesota Wild player ever, who also is my deep cut Minnesota Wild player?
Rem Pitlick.
Damn it. All right, I will grant you yes, but that is not my answer. But that is also accurate, so fuck. Nope. It is the deepest cut. Like, it's right there with Rem Pitlick. He played a few more games. And Mateo nailed it there. See, Mateo pays attention to me. Literally, the minimum 10 shootout attempts holds the record for shootout percentage in NHL history.
Hold on. What years?
He scored 8 out of 10 shootout attempts. He played for the Wild. I believe it was 06, 07, and 07, 08. I might be off by a year. He's with us for 2 years. And he's just like Mikko Koivu. He only played for one other NHL team, and it was the Columbus Blue Jackets. He'll forever be my Minnesota Wild goat.
Oh, wait. This is going to piss me off if I don't get it. Oh, my God.
Ooh. I am getting summoned for chaotic child upstairs, so I have to bounce here in a second. I'll give you 1 second to guess, and then I have to jump, and I will let you and Mateo decide how much longer this is going to ride out. Simon, you're absolutely welcome to stay on here. I am unfortunately have a crazy toddler.
I will. Well, 2 years with the Wild. I'm like Dimitra. That's it, or is it? Oh God,
it's a defenseman. Though. And I'm gonna say the guy that I irrationally hate, kind of rationally. I always was not a fan of Mikhail Granlund. He was never my guy. We've talked about that plenty.
That was easy. I knew that one. Yeah.
My favorite player in NHL or Minnesota Wild history is Petteri Newman.
It was
Petteri Newman, baby. Simon, thank you so much though for your support. I don't know how much longer you guys are gonna keep this going, but everyone in the chat, big ups to Simon. Give us the thumbs up so that Isha's not a jerk to me later. And Z, I'll chat with you a little bit later. But Petteri Newman for the freaking win. Love you guys. But I'm getting yelled at. I got to peace out.
There, dude.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. Later, boys.
There you go. The only other questions I have, actually, Sam, are you a college hockey guy at all?
Yeah. Yep. Gopher fan.
Gophers? Who's favorite Gopher?
Yep. Okay, so I'll go with a normal one and a deep cut. Normal. I loved watching Adam Wilcox play goalie.
Oh, that is like that.
I thought he was going to be so good, and then he just kind of got stuck in the AHL, and I don't think he's even playing anymore. But watching him play goalie was awesome. I also was a huge when he was with the Gophers, Eric Howell fan.
Hall of Famer.
Yep. He I was bummed when he left Minnesota because I loved watching him. But like a deeper cut, a guy who I thought was going to be good. I don't even know what he's doing anymore, but I just remember watching him and being like, I like this guy. Was Taylor Camerata.
Yeah.
No clue what he's doing. I absolutely. I'm going to look up now. Taylor Camerata. Like, absolutely no clue. But I thought he was for sure going to be good when he was in college. Don't know why. Couldn't tell you. I was fairly young. That was what, back in 2013 or no 2013. I mean, I don't know why, but I liked watching him. But yeah, Adam Wilcox, man. That Adam Wilcox was him.
I did not see that coming. I love that. How about a team you fucking hate as a Gopher fan? Who is it? Is it Nodak? Is it one of these other motherfuckers?
I mean, it's two. I was actually just talking to my dad about this. We were like, where would you absolutely not go? And it was if I was a college hockey player, which I was nowhere close to being good enough, was North Dakota and Wisconsin. I would go anywhere else. It's North Dakota and Wisconsin, and I would probably go to Wisconsin first, which hurts my heart to say as a true Gopher fan. But in terms of hockey, I can't stand North Dakota ever since the Ben Blood punching Kyle Rao days.
That rock, though.
Yeah,
we need them to keep fighting.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. We need the tension there. I feel like it's that rivalry's gotten a little bit soft, but no, that. Can't stand North Dakota. When I was younger, I think I disliked UMD more than I do now. I kind of.
Veach will be upset.
I mean, I don't like nowadays. I don't hate them, and that's probably more so because they're just not on our schedule as much. But when I was younger, I there was a big rivalry.
Veach, feel free to chime in. Veach is in the chat. He's here. He's a big UMD guy. Wow. There you go. Wisconsin. There you go. Wisconsin Unbearable fans. Incredible. Accurate. Holy shit. Yeah, no.
And I've been up to UMD. I love like Amsoil, great arena. Great fans, great jerseys, great history, great program. It's just like, back to the old days when that was really a rivalry. I still think of them a little bit as rivals.
Yeah, fair enough, dude. I thought our boy Jason Bryant was in the chat. I don't know if he's still here. I would love to know his thoughts. There you go. It'll be Jack Pert when he gets there. That'll be his favorite Wild player. I would love to know how he's feeling about St. Cloud right now. What a fucking insane trajectory that fucking program's been on the last couple of years. God, I don't know. It's a weird ass rink. But those fans are out of fucking control, and I love it. So I always have a soft spot for St. Cloud. I really want them to be back being like the biggest pricks in the world. Like, you play St. Cloud, you're going into a fucking war. But I don't know. The past couple of years have been tough. Like, Ralph transferred.
Yeah, I'd love to see all the Minnesota programs get back to kind of that level of just absolute rivalry and hate between them, but also just these great games. I mean, I'd love to see like 4 Minnesota teams making the playoffs every year. Just give us the top of the top for all those teams. As much as I dislike them, I want to have that real competitive rivalry.
I would love a little Frozen 4 You have Minnesota State going against St. Cloud, a bunch of 37-year-olds just murdering each other. And then you got Minnesota, and then take your picks. God, it would be it. You take your pick. There's so many. St. Thomas now they fucking went D1, got their fucking shit rocked, and now they're fucking like being fine.
Oh yeah, I think
St.
St. Thomas. Yeah, I think St. Thomas is going to be good. Like I really do. I think it's only they're already looking a lot better. They got the new arena. I think we're going to see them competing very highly in the next at most 5-6 years.
Yeah. So actually, and now that Beach says it, that's my ideal Frozen Four. Give me fucking Mankato and St. Cloud, 37-year-olds just beating the shit out of each other, and then give me Minnesota and Duluth. That's the best.
Yeah,
that's that. That would be everyone else. The whole country would fucking hate it, other than me, and then everyone from Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't know how many people would actually watch outside the state of Minnesota. It would be Minnesotans and the hockey sickos, like that. The guys who understand the rivalry. I will say, the way Penn State's acting, they're gonna get some rivals soon here. That I don't know if you saw the clip of the guy scoring the goal against who was it, LIU, and skating over to their fans at a home game.
Oh, you know what? I'm so glad you brought that up. Was it Charlie Serrato? I think did it. Usually, I fucking love college players chirping other fans. That was the weirdest. Unless those four people who were the only LIU fans, which, by the way, Nate Benoit, Minnesota Wild prospect, this is his third college now in 3 years. He's at LIU now. He started at Nodec, said wasn't playing enough there. Went to Quinnipiac last year, didn't play enough there. So now he's at LIU playing 20 minutes a night. So, still have a soft spot for LIU because Nate Benoit plays there. 7th round pick in 2021, 2022. I don't remember. Whatever. That was weird behavior, though. That was a very weird fucking like. Why? Well, why?
Yeah.
Like, also, he literally celebrated. He was like, "Oh wait, I unless those four fans said something horrific about his family." I was like, "It's not that great." I was like, "That's not." That's the one time I'm like, "That's kind of fucking dumb," but whatever. But LIU, they do, as Cosgrove just said, they have great jerseys, great colors. But Serrato from Penn State, dude, you can't be fucking. You can't.
That was just so weird. I mean, if you're gonna do that, do it against somebody who can put up a fight. Don't do it against LIU. If you want to do that to a rival, Ohio State, Michigan State, someone like that, it's still a little weird to skate across the ice to do it, but at least then you have some justification. But you have no rivalry with LIU. No offense to LIU, but it's not like they're had any chance of beating them.
I don't think anyone has a rivalry with LIU at this point. They're just getting okay, but tough. That was a tough scene. Wasn't proud. I love Serrato too. Very sad that he did it because I love him. But that was like that's a tough Sally. Just trying to think here. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Penn State's average, not. Oh yeah, no. Penn State, they fucking Veach's now. Veach is firing me up about Penn State. Yeah, dude. Okay, what was that? 30. I fucking love college hockey rivalries. This is amazing. All right. Before we close this out, NHL wide thoughts, hatred, favorite teams outside of Minnesota, overall thoughts in league, whatever you want to dish on. Go ahead.
I mean, in terms of favorite teams outside the Wild, I like the Hurricanes. I think, they play an enjoyable, sometimes, brand of hockey, of just, get the pucks on net and see what happens. And, I think they've got a lot of likable guys. Seth Jarvis is one of my favorite players in the league. outside the Wild, he's definitely up there. But I think general thoughts in the league. I think we're still only kind of finding out who's who this year, and I think that's a really fun time for the league to be in. I mean, seeing Anaheim being the best offensive team through the first 5 games was fun to watch for a minute there. Who knows how that'll continue, but yeah, it's a super fun time. I think the league is in a pretty good spot. Glad the cap is going up. I think it's going to lead to guys getting paid. I do think, unfortunately, we're going to see less movement because of it. It's going to be a lot easier for guys to re-sign with teams, but yeah, it's enjoyable. I think for an average fan, it's a good time to be a hockey fan.
Fucking right. Cup pick.
That's a good question. I think
Or
Edmonton
cup
makes
final.
Edmonton makes it back to the final. Edmonton out of the West. I don't know if they can pull it off, but I think they make it back. And from the East, I'd like to see Carolina. Like I said, I'm a Carolina fan. I think it's very possible. But yeah, I think if you made me put a bet down right now on who's going to make it, it would be Edmonton and Carolina. And I don't know who wins that because it's 2 very different brands of hockey. One all-stars, the other team cohesion.
Love it. Yeah, right now my picks are Carolina out of the East and Vegas out of the West. And I think it'd be a 7-game war, and I would love it. It would be very fun for me. As long as it's not Florida, I'm good. I'm happy. I can't take them
Same.
any more games.
No Florida and no Dallas. No Florida, no
Florida,
Dallas.
no Dallas. We love that.
All right. We've pleased the Southern fans enough. The Southern fans have gotten their run.
They've had their taste. They can pretend like Vegas is kind of not really.
Yeah.
But that's perfect. We love that. Yeah. No, I'm in agreement 100%. So Simon, dude, beauty. Thanks for jumping on with us. Thanks for subscribing as long as you have. And
this is great. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely, pal. Yeah, no, glad to meet you. And Mateo, I think we're good. We'll be back next week as always, same time as always, Mondays. I guess I'm in Boston, so that's 9:30 for me, 8:30 out for the Essential. But we'll be back next week, same time. Simon, you're a beauty. And Mateo, take us out.